It is late evening. The air in the small wooden workshop is thick with dust and silence. The heavy oak door has just clicked shut, latching tight against the cooling wind outside. The sound of footsteps, heavy, royal boots, fades away down the cobblestone path, disappearing into the valley below. Inside, the light is dimming. A single oil lamp flickers on a workbench, casting long, dancing shadows against the walls, filled with spools of colored thread. In the center of the room stands a woman named Mara. She is alone. Her hands are resting on the smooth, worn wood of her loom, but they are not moving, they are trembling. Just moments ago, a royal messenger stood in this very spot. He carried a scroll sealed with the king's own wax crest. The commission was simple, yet impossible. The king did not want a blanket or a rug. He did not want a simple geometric pattern for the palace floors. He demanded a tapestry that captured the very essence of the kingdom. The roar of the rivers, the silence of the forests, the spirit of the people, and the light of the stars. It was to be the greatest work of art ever created in the land. This should be a moment of triumph. Mara is the most celebrated weaver in 3 provinces. People travel for days just to touch the silk she spins. Her reputation is solid gold. She has spent 20 years building this name thread by thread, knot by knot. She is Mara, the great weaver. That is who she is. That is the name people whisper with reverence. But as she stands there in the fading light, looking at the empty loom that suddenly seems vast and terrifying, she does not feel like a master. She feels like a fraud. The weight of the commission presses down on her chest like a physical stone. The air in the room feels thin. A cold sweat prickles on her neck. Her mind, usually a quiet stream of patterns and colors, is now a raging torrent of questions. What if this is the one I cannot finish? What if my hands fail me? What if the king sees through me? What if I am not who they say I am? She looks at the baskets of expensive silk she has already purchased. Crimson like fresh blood, gold like the midday sun, deep indigo like the midnight sky. They do not look like opportunity anymore. They look like a test she is destined to fail. She reaches out to touch a spool of golden thread, but her fingers recoil as if burned. She cannot begin. To begin is to risk imperfection. To begin is to open the door to failure. So she stands frozen, the greatest weaver in the land, paralyzed by the very thing she loves. You know this feeling. You know this room. You may not be a weaver in a mountain village, and you may not have a commission from a king, but you have stood where Mara stands. You have felt the crushing weight of expectation settling on your shoulders. Perhaps it is a deadline at work that feels impossible to meet. Perhaps it is the pressure to be the perfect parent, the perfect partner, or the perfect student. Perhaps it is simply the overwhelming demand of modern life, the endless list of tasks that must be done, the reputation you must uphold, the image you must project to the world. You stand before the loom of your own life, and you freeze. The anxiety rises in your throat. The friction begins. It is a subtle, pervasive sense that things are not right, that you are not safe, that you are one mistake away from losing everything. You tighten your grip. You try to control every variable. You hold your breath, hoping that if you just tense your muscles enough, you can force reality to bend to your will. You believe, just as Mara believes, that your worth is tied to your output. You believe that if you stop weaving, you cease to exist. This state of friction is exhausting. It drains the color from your days and steals the rest from your nights. It keeps your nervous system in a constant state of high alert, scanning the horizon for threats, waiting for the other shoe to drop. You live in the future, worrying about the tapestry that isn't finished. Or you live in the past, critiquing the knots you tied yesterday. You are rarely here in the quiet, simple dignity of the present moment. But listen closely to what I am about to tell you. What Mara does not know, standing there in the dark, is that her paralysis is not the end of her story. It is the beginning of her freedom. She believes she needs to weave a tapestry of perfection to be saved. She believes the gold thread is the most valuable thing in the room. She is wrong. There is a secret hidden in this story, a foreshadowing of a truth we will uncover together. There is an old legend about a traveler who wore a tattered coat, shivering in the cold, begging for scraps, completely unaware that sewn into the hem of his coat was a diamond of priceless value. Mara is like that traveler. She is shivering with fear, thinking she is poor and inadequate, thinking she must earn her worth through her labor. She does not yet know that the diamond is already sewn into her coat. She does not yet know that her flaw, her fear, and her cracking open are not mistakes. They are the cracks where the light is waiting to enter. Tonight, we are going to walk a different path. We are not here to fix you. We are not here to give you 10 more rules to follow or 5 more strategies to optimize your productivity. You have enough rules. You have enough strategies. That is the noise. That is the tension. Tonight, we are here to let go. Over the next 3 hours, we will embark on a gentle journey into the timeless wisdom of Buddhist philosophy. This is not a lecture. It is an unburdening. We will move through the friction that Mara feels, dissecting the anxiety that grips the modern mind. We will explore the illusion of the separate self, the I that is so terrified of failing. We will learn to see the world not as a collection of solid, threatening objects, but as a flowing river of change that we can float upon. We will discover the art of the middle way, finding the balance between the tight string of anxiety and the loose string of apathy. We will learn that you do not need to be the weaver who controls every thread. You can be the loom, the spacious, quiet capacity that holds it all. You will learn to drop the heavy raft you have been carrying on your back. You will learn that the piece you are frantically searching for is not out there in the finished tapestry. It is right here in the space between your thoughts, waiting for you to simply notice it. This is your sanctuary. This is Sleepy Monk. Here, there is no one you need to impress. There is no royal commission you need to fulfill. There is no grade you need to earn. You can set down the heavy load. If you are tired of the friction, if you are tired of the constant tightening of your chest, if you are ready to find the diamond hidden in your own coat, then you have arrived at the right place. I invite you to make a commitment to yourself right now. Commit to this journey. Allow these words to wash over you, sinking past the busy, analytical mind and settling into the deep, knowing heart. If you wish to walk this path of quiet liberation with us, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. By doing so, you are not just clicking a button. You are signaling to your own mind that you are prioritizing peace. You are marking this space as your refuge, a place you can return to whenever the world becomes too loud and the loom feels too empty. Take a slow, deep breath. Feel the air filling your lungs, expanding your chest. Hold it for a brief moment, feeling the fullness of life within you. And now open your mouth and let it go with a gentle sigh. Let the tension in your shoulders drop. Let the muscles in your jaw soften. Let the grip of your hands relax. Mara is still standing in the workshop. The lamp is flickering low. The shadows are long. Her fear is real, but help is coming, not in the form of a solution she can think her way through, but in the form of a sunset she has not yet seen. The journey from panic to peace begins now. Just breathe. You are safe here. Let us begin. Chapter 2. The friction. You are standing in the center of your own life. Much like Mara stands in her workshop, the air is still. The silence is heavy. There is a specific sensation arising within you, a sensation that the ancient teachers identified thousands of years ago. It is not pain exactly, though it can be painful. It is not quite fear, though fear is its fuel. It is friction. It is the subtle, pervasive grinding of the mind against the reality of the present moment. It is the feeling that something is missing, that something is wrong, that you are not quite arrived at the place where you can finally rest. This friction has a name. In the old languages, it was called dukkha. It is often translated as suffering, but a better word is unsatisfactoriness. It is the wheel that does not turn smoothly because the axle is off-center. It is the bone that sits poorly in the socket. It is the underlying hum of anxiety that accompanies even your moments of success. The quiet whisper that says, "This will not last," or "You must do more." Observe Mara. She is the greatest weaver in the land. She has skill. She has resources. She has the commission of a king. By all external measures, she should be joyful. Yet she is paralyzed. Why? It is not the weaving itself that causes her suffering. Weaving is just the movement of hands, the sliding of the shuttle, the interlocking of threads. These are neutral actions. The suffering comes from the friction between who she is, a human being with limits, and who she thinks she must be, a God who makes no mistakes. You know this friction intimately. It is the tightening in your chest when things do not go according to your plan. It is the heat in your face when someone offers a critique. It is the exhaustion in your bones when you try to control the uncontrollable. You spend your days building a dam in the middle of a rushing river. You stand in the water, arms wide, muscles straining, trying to hold back the flow of events, trying to force the water to be still, to be clean, to be exactly the depth you desire. The water pushes back. The pressure builds. Your muscles scream. This is the friction. The mistake you make, the mistake Mara makes, is believing that the friction is caused by the river. You think, if the river would just slow down, I would be at peace. You think, if the commission were smaller, if the traffic were lighter, if the children were quieter, I would be calm. But the river is just water doing what water does. The traffic is just cars. The commission is just cloth. The friction comes from your resistance. It comes from the no you are shouting internally at the reality before you. You are holding on to a picture in your mind of how this moment should be. In your picture, you are confident. In your picture, the work is already done and it is perfect. In your picture, you are safe. But reality is different. Reality is messy. Reality is uncertain. And so you grind the picture against the reality, creating sparks, creating heat, creating this exhaustion that settles deep in your marrow. This is the nature of the untrained mind. It is a machine designed to solve problems, but it perceives the present moment as a problem to be solved rather than an experience to be lived. It clings to the pleasant, terrified it will leave. It pushes away the unpleasant, terrified it will stay. This pushing and pulling is the engine of your anxiety. It is a constant, frantic motion that gets you nowhere. Mara looks at her loom and sees a battlefield. She sees a place where she will either survive or be destroyed. She has forgotten that the loom is just wood and string. She has forgotten that she is just a woman in a room. The friction has narrowed her vision until all she can see is the potential for failure. But listen to this truth. The friction is not a punishment. It is not a sign that you are broken or that you are failing at the spiritual path. The friction is a signal. It is a bell ringing in the night. It is telling you that you are holding on too tight. It is telling you that you are arguing with the way things are. When you feel this tightening, when you feel the familiar grip of anxiety in your stomach, do not fight it. Do not add more friction by judging yourself for feeling friction. Do not say, I should not be anxious. That is just another layer of resistance. That is just building a second dam behind the first one. Instead, acknowledge the friction. Name it. Here is the tightening. Here is the resistance. Here is the wanting things to be different. When you name it, you create a tiny space. You step back from the riverbank. You stop pushing against the water for just 1 second. In that second, you realize that the pressure you feel is self-generated. It is the weight of your own expectations, the weight of your own refusal to accept this moment as it is. Mara is suffering because she wants to be the finished tapestry, not the weaver in the process. She wants the destination without the journey. She wants the safety of the known, but art and life only happens in the unknown. The teaching of the first noble truth is not a sentence of doom. It is a diagnosis. It says, there is friction. It validates your experience. It says, yes, it is hard. Yes, it feels unsatisfactory. By admitting this, you stop pretending. You stop fighting the truth of your experience. You drop the facade. You are here. The loom is empty. The fear is present. The friction is real. And in this honest acknowledgement, the first layer of tension begins to melt. You are not fighting the friction anymore. You are observing it. You are watching the wheel turn. You are noticing the off-center axle. And in that noticing, there is the beginning of a great stillness. You are preparing to stop building the dam. You are preparing to let the river flow. Chapter 3. The Weaver's Lesson. The friction in the workshop becomes unbearable. The silence is not peaceful. It is screaming with unvoiced fears. Mara cannot stay. The walls of the room, lined with the tools of her success, feel like the bars of a cage. She needs air. She needs space. She pushes open the heavy oak door and steps out into the twilight. The village is quiet, smoke curling from chimneys, but she turns her back on it. She walks up the path that winds toward the mountain peaks. Her legs burn with the effort, and the physical sensation is a relief. It grounds her. It pulls her out of the spiraling storm in her mind and into the rhythm of her breath and her step. She climbs until the village is just a scattering of pebbles far below. She arrives at a small hermitage, a simple hut perched on a ledge of rock. An old woman sits outside. This is Prajna, a nun who was once a queen, who left the palace to find what could not be lost. Her face is a map of wrinkles deeper than the river valleys, but her eyes are clear like pools of water that have settled after a storm. Mara collapses on the ground beside her. The words spill out of her. The king, the commission, the terror, the fraudulence. She confesses it all. I am the great weaver, she sobs, but I cannot weave. If I fail, I am nothing. I am a hollow shell. My name is woven into those threads, and if the threads tangle, I am undone. Prajna listens. She does not interrupt. She does not offer a handkerchief or a platitude. She waits until the well of Mara's panic runs dry. Then she points a gnarled finger toward the horizon. Look, the nun says. The sun is beginning its final descent. The sky is igniting. Great streaks of violet and burning orange stretch across the heavens. The clouds, which moments ago were gray and dull, are now edged in brilliant gold. It is a masterpiece of light, a tapestry far greater than any human hand could construct. They sit in silence, watching the colors shift. The orange deepens to blood red. The violet fades to indigo. The gold turns to silver as the first stars pierce the veil. It is beautiful, Mara whispers, her voice hoarse. Why is it beautiful? Prajna asks softly. Mara thinks. Because the colors, they are perfect. No, Prajna corrects her. It is beautiful because it is vanishing. Look, the red is already gone. If the sunset stayed frozen, if it hardened like stone, you would cease to see it. It would become a wall. Its beauty is in its passing. Its beauty is that it does not hold on to itself. The nun turns to look at Mara. You suffer because you are trying to be a stone statue. You are trying to freeze yourself as the great weaver. You have built an identity, a heavy armor of reputation and expectation. You think this armor protects you, but it suffocates you. You are carrying a corpse and calling it yourself. The words strike Mara like a bell. You are not the weaver, Prajna continues. You are the loom. Consider this deeply. You too have built an identity. You say, I am a successful person, or I am a kind person, or I am an anxious person. You gather evidence to support these labels. You defend them when they are challenged. You worry when they are threatened. You think you are the picture painted on the canvas. But the picture is static. The picture is dead. When you cling to the identity of the one who does not fail, you live in terror of the inevitable mistake. When you cling to the identity of the helper, you burn out because you cannot set boundaries. You are gripping the thread so tightly that they snap. The loom does not hold the thread, Prajna says. The loom holds the space for the thread to pass through. It allows the pattern to emerge, but it does not claim the pattern as its own. It allows the red thread of joy. It allows the dark thread of fear. It allows the gold thread of inspiration. It does not say, I will only accept the gold. It accepts all of it, and because it accepts all of it, the tapestry can be whole. You are the open space of awareness. You are the capacity to feel fear without becoming the fear. You are the capacity to experience failure without becoming a failure. The thoughts that race through your mind, I can't do this, I am not enough, these are just clouds passing through the sky of who you are. The sky does not grab the clouds. The sky does not push the clouds. The sky simply is. Mara looks at her hands. They are the same hands that trembled in the workshop, but they look different now. They are not the tools of a desperate god trying to control the universe. They are just hands, instruments of the flow. If you try to be the weaver, Prajna says, you will always be afraid, for the weaver can make mistakes. But if you are the loom, you are safe. The loom cannot fail. The loom simply holds. Go back to your workshop. Do not try to weave a masterpiece. Simply allow the threads to pass through you. Let the fear be a color. Let the doubt be a texture. Include it all. The sun has set. The mountains are dark silhouettes against the stars. The identity Mara fought so hard to protect, the heavy, golden burden of being the great weaver, has dissolved into the night air. She feels lighter. She is no longer a noun, a fixed thing. She is a verb. She is a process. She is a witnessing presence. You are the loom. You are the space. The anxiety you feel is not a flaw in the machine. It is just a vibration moving through the vastness of your being. You do not need to defend your image. You do not need to uphold the statue. You can let it crumble. And in the space where the statue stood, you will find the freedom to move, to breathe, and to simply be. Chapter 4. The Flow. The sunset that Mara watched is gone. It did not ask permission to leave. It simply obeyed the fundamental law of the universe. This law is anicca, impermanence. It is the truth that nothing, absolutely nothing, remains the same for 2 consecutive moments. You are sitting or lying down as you listen to this. You feel solid. You feel like a stable entity that has existed since birth and will exist until death. But this solidity is an illusion. Look closer. Look with the eyes of wisdom. Your body is not a structure. It is a river. The cells that make up your skin, your blood, your bones are dying and being born at a rate of millions per second. The breath you just took is already gone, replaced by a new one. The sensation in your fingertips has shifted. The thought you had 5 minutes ago has dissolved into the ether, never to return in exactly the same form. You are a colony of change. You are a dynamic event, a swirling vortex of energy that looks like a person but is actually a flow. We suffer because we declare war on this flow. We are like a man standing on the bank of a rushing river, shouting at the water to stop. We want our pleasures to be permanent. We want our youth to be frozen. We want our loved ones to never change. We want our security to be a stone fortress. But the river does not care about our shouting. The river flows, the seasons turn, the flower blooms and then wilts. The child grows and leaves. The empire rises and falls. This is not a tragedy. This is the nature of existence. When you resist this flow, you create pain. You clench your fist around water, trying to hold it, and it slips through your fingers. The harder you squeeze, the faster it escapes, and the more your hand aches. The anxiety you feel is the tension of the clenched fist. It is the exhaustion of trying to freeze time. Imagine you are holding a beautiful bird in your hands. If you hold it too tightly, fearing it will fly away, you crush it. You kill the very thing you love. But if you open your hands, if you make your palms a platform rather than a cage, the bird rests. It may stay or it may fly. But you are at peace because you are not fighting its nature. This teaching of impermanence is often seen as sad. We grieve the loss of what we love. But look at the other side of the coin. If nothing stays, then pain cannot stay either. The depression that feels like a heavy blanket, it is impermanent. It will shift. The anxiety that feels like a vice, it is impermanent. It will loosen. The situation that feels hopeless, it is impermanent. It will change. Impermanence is the greatest liberator. It means you are not stuck. It means that no mistake is eternal. It means that every single moment is a fresh start, a new universe that has never existed before and will never exist again. Mara feared the weaving because she wanted the result to be a permanent monument to her greatness. She wanted to create something that would say, "I was here forever." But cloth rots. Colors fade. Even the king who commissioned the work will one day be dust. When you see this, really see this, the stakes get lower. The pressure lifts. Why are you terrified of making a mistake if the mistake itself is fleeting? Why are you paralyzed by the opinion of others if those opinions are just passing weather patterns in their own changing minds? You are part of the great dance of the cosmos. The stars above you are burning their fuel and will one day go dark. The mountains are slowly being worn down by the wind. The ocean is evaporating and raining down. You are not separate from this. You are not a static observer watching the movie. You are the movie. To make peace with anxiety, you must make friends with change. You must stop building houses on the sand and expecting them to stand forever. Instead, learn to be a swimmer. A swimmer does not fear the water, she moves with it. She adjusts her stroke to the current. She knows she cannot control the ocean, but she can learn to float. Relax your grip on your life. Open your hand. Let the events of the day flow through you like wind through a screen. Do not try to trap them. Do not try to keep the sunset. Let it go so the stars can appear. Let the stars go so the sun can rise. Trust the flow. It has carried you this far. It pumped your heart before you knew you had a name. It grew your bones before you knew how to worry. This intelligence, this vast, changing, river-like intelligence, is what you are. You do not need to manage it. You do not need to freeze it. You only need to surrender to it. The dam you built is breaking. Let it break. Let the water rush through. In the movement, in the washing away of the old, you will find the freshness of life. You will find that you are not the dam, you are the water, and water is never afraid, because water can never be broken. Chapter 5. The Cracked Pot. In a valley far from Mara's mountain, there is a workshop that smells of damp earth and wood smoke. This is the domain of Isara, a master potter. Her hands are always coated in gray slip, her apron stiff with dried clay. The wheel spins with a hypnotic hum, a rhythmic thrumming that mimics the heartbeat of the earth itself. Isara has an apprentice named Kale. Kale is young, talented, and tormented. He possesses an eye for symmetry that is almost mathematical. He wants to create the perfect vessel, a bowl so round, so smooth, so flawless, that it seems to have dropped from the realm of the gods, untouched by human hands. Day after day, Kale sits at his wheel. He centers the clay with fierce concentration. He pulls the walls up, his breath held tight in his chest. But clay is a living material. It has a memory, it has a will. Sometimes a tiny pebble, no larger than a grain of sand, is hidden in the mud. As the wall of the bowl rises, the pebble drags, leaving a small gouge. Sometimes the heat of the kiln is uneven, and the glaze drips in an unexpected way. Whenever this happens, Kale destroys the pot. He takes a hammer and smashes his work into shards. His corner of the workshop is a graveyard of near-perfect vessels. He hates the flaws. He sees them as failures. He sees them as evidence of his own inadequacy. He believes that beauty equals perfection and anything less is an insult. One day, Izara watches Kale smash a vase that had a hairline crack near the rim. The sound of shattering pottery echoes through the room. Kale hangs his head, exhausted by his own standards. Izara walks over to the pile of shards. She bends down, her movements slow and deliberate, and picks up the pieces of the vase Kale has just destroyed. She does not throw them away. She carries them to her own bench. She mixes a special lacquer, sticky and pungent. Into this lacquer she stirs fine gold dust. Then, with infinite patience, she begins to assemble the broken vase. She does not try to hide the cracks. She does not try to paint over them or sand them down to make them invisible. Instead, she highlights them. She fills the fractures with the gold lacquer. When she is finished, she holds the vase up to the light. It is no longer the pristine white vessel Kale intended. It is something else entirely. Veins of shimmering gold run through the white ceramic, telling the story of its breaking. The crack is no longer a flaw, it is the focal point. It is a lightning bolt of gold striking through the clay. This is kintsugi, Izara tells Kale, the art of precious scars. She places the vase in Kale's hands. You are trying to create objects that have no history, she says. You want a bowl that looks like it was never touched, never burned, never broken, but life is not like that. Life is the breaking. This vase, she continues, pointing to the golden seam, is more beautiful now than it was before. Before it was just a vase. Now it is a survivor. It has a story. The gold draws the eye to the place where it was weakest and declares that this is now where it is strongest. You are Kale. You are sitting at the wheel of your life, trying to mold yourself into a perfect, seamless shape. You hide your anxieties. You cover up your past mistakes. You feel shame for your cracks, the trauma you endured, the relationship that failed, the job you lost, the temper you lost. You think these things make you less valuable. You think they are evidence that you are defective. You try to present a smooth, unblemished surface to the world. You smile when you want to weep. You say, "I'm fine," when you are crumbling. You smash the parts of yourself that do not fit the mold of perfection. But the philosophy of wabi-sabi, the wisdom of the cracked pot, invites you to put down the hammer. It invites you to look at your flaws with a different eye. The crack is not the end of the object. It is the beginning of its character. What if your anxiety is not a stain to be scrubbed out, but a crack to be filled with gold? What if your sensitivity, the way you feel things so deeply that it hurts, is not a weakness, but the very place where your compassion enters? What if your past failures are not dark secrets, but the golden veins that hold you together and make you unique? There is no such thing as a perfect life. There are only lives that deny their cracks, and lives that honor them. The beauty of the Japanese tea bowl is not in its symmetry, but in its irregularity, its roughness, its organic reality. It feels good in the hands because it is imperfect, just like the hands that hold it. You do not need to be fixed. You are not a broken appliance that needs to be repaired to function. You are a piece of art in the process of becoming. The healing you seek is not the erasure of your history. It is the illumination of it. Imagine taking the gold dust of self-compassion and mixing it with the lacquer of acceptance. Imagine applying this to the places inside you that hurt. You do not hide the depression. You line it with gold. You do not deny the fear. You line it with gold. You say, "Yes, I broke here, and look how I put myself back together. Look how the light catches the seam." Isara places the vase on the highest shelf. It shines in the dim light. Kale looks at it, and for the first time he understands. He stops fighting the clay. He stops fighting the fire. He realizes that the master is not the one who makes no mistakes, but the one who knows how to make the mistakes beautiful. You are the clay, you are the potter, and you are the gold. Let the cracks show. They are the proof that you have lived. They are the map of your resilience. In this workshop of existence, nothing is ever wasted and nothing is ever truly broken. It is only waiting to be mended with gold. Chapter 2. The View from the Hermitage. The path up the mountain was steep and winding, a narrow ribbon of crushed stone that cut through the dense, whispering pine forests. Mara walked with a heavy heart, her feet dragging against the gravity of the earth, mirroring the weight she carried in her mind. With every step, the air grew thinner and cooler, carrying the scent of damp earth and ancient resin. The sounds of the village, the barking dogs, the shouting merchants, the rhythmic clatter of looms, faded into a profound silence, replaced only by the sound of her own breath and the crunch of gravel beneath her sandals. She was leaving the world of doing and entering the world of being. She climbed until her legs burned, seeking not just elevation, but perspective. As the trees began to thin, revealing the vast open sky, she arrived at a small, modest hermitage perched on a rocky outcrop. It was a simple structure of wood and stone, weather-beaten by years of wind and rain. Yet it stood with a quiet dignity. This was the home of an old nun, a woman known throughout the valley not for her miracles but for her stillness. Her name was forgotten by most, simply referred to as the Elder, a woman whose eyes were said to be as calm as a deep forest pool that had never known a storm. Mara found the nun tending to a small garden of medicinal herbs. The old woman moved with a deliberate slowness, her hands touching the leaves with a reverence that suggested she was greeting old friends. When she saw Mara, she did not ask why she had come. She did not ask about the loom or the king's commission. She simply gestured to a flat, sun-warmed rock overlooking the valley floor far below. "The sun is preparing to leave us," the nun said, her voice like the rustling of dry leaves. "Come, let us bear witness." They sat together in silence. Mara's mind was still churning, a storm of what-ifs and should-haves, vibrating with the anxiety of the empty loom waiting for her in the shadows below. She wanted to speak, to pour out her troubles, to ask for a solution that would make her hands stop trembling. But the nun's presence was a soft command to be still. And so Mara waited. Below them, the world began to transform. The sun, a blazing orb of fire, dipped toward the jagged horizon. The sky, which had been a pale, exhausted blue, suddenly ignited. Brilliant streaks of tangerine and crimson bled into deep purples and soft, bruising pinks. It was a masterpiece of light, painted on a canvas of clouds that shifted and dissolved with every passing second. The colors were not static, they were alive, dancing and dying in the same breath. It was breathtakingly beautiful, a display of grandeur that no weaver, not even Mara, could ever hope to capture in thread. For a moment Mara forgot her fear. She forgot the king. She forgot herself. She was simply an eye drinking in the majesty of the dying day. But then the old habit of her mind returned. She thought, if only I could weave like this, if only I could capture this perfection and hold it forever. The familiar friction returned, the gap between the fleeting reality and her desire to possess it. The nun, sensing the shift in Mara's energy, spoke softly without turning her head. "It is beautiful, is it not?" she asked. "But tell me, Mara, would it be as beautiful if it were painted on a wall, if it never moved, if the sun froze just above the horizon and the colors never faded into the night?" Mara considered this. "No," she whispered. "It would become stale. We would stop seeing it." "Precisely," the nun said, turning to look at Mara with eyes that held no judgment, only a vast, spacious understanding. No one expects the sunset to hold still. No one demands that tonight's sunset be exactly like yesterday's. We do not critique the clouds for being the wrong shape. We simply watch. We allow it to be. She paused, letting the silence settle between them like a soft blanket. Its beauty is in its vanishing. It is beautiful because it is uncontrollable. Mara felt a tear trace a cool line down her cheek. She realized she had been treating her talent, her inspiration, and her very life as something that needed to be frozen in a state of permanent perfection. She wanted to be a statue of a great weaver, unmoving and flawless. But life was a sunset. It was a flow. "You are suffering, my child," the nun continued, her voice gentle but piercing, "because you are trying to hold on to a moment that has already passed. You are trying to weave a tapestry that never changes, using threads that are constantly changing. You are fighting the nature of things." The sun finally slipped below the horizon, leaving a ghostly afterglow on the peaks. The air grew cold. "The friction you feel," the nun said, standing up slowly, "is the friction of your own resistance. You are trying to stop the sun from setting. You are trying to stop the loom from shaking. But the shaking is just energy. The setting is just time." Mara looked at her hands, the hands that had created wonders and the hands that now trembled. In the twilight, they looked just like hands. Not the hands of a genius, not the hands of a failure, just flesh and bone resting on her knees. The nun's words had opened a crack in the fortress of her fear. She had climbed the mountain looking for a way to be perfect. She was beginning to learn that the only way to be free was to let go of the need to be perfect at all. Chapter 3. You are the loom. The twilight deepened into the velvet indigo of early night. The first stars began to prick the darkness, cold and distant witnesses to the conversation on the mountain. The nun led Mara back into the small hermitage and lit a single oil lamp. The flame flickered, casting long, dancing shadows against the rough wooden walls. They sat on simple cushions, the smell of burning oil mixing with the crisp mountain air. The nun looked deeply at Mara, her gaze penetrating the layers of anxiety and identity the young woman wore like armor. "You have told me you are a weaver," the nun said. "You believe this is who you are. When the weaving is good, you are good. When the weaving stops, you believe you cease to exist. This is the source of your pain." Mara nodded, the truth of it aching in her chest. "It is all I have," she confessed. "It is my value. Without my skill, I am nothing." "This is the illusion," the nun said firmly. "Listen closely, Mara. You are not the weaver." Mara blinked, confused. "But I move the threads. I choose the colors." "No," the nun interrupted gently. "That is the activity. That is the doing. But you are confusing the weather with the sky." She leaned forward, her face illuminated by the warm, golden light of the lamp. "Think of your loom. The loom does not choose the thread. The loom does not judge the pattern. The loom simply provides the space, the structure, the tension for the cloth to be created. It holds the gold thread with the same strength it holds the rough wool. It holds the bright red of joy and the dark gray of sorrow without preference. It allows the tapestry to unfold." She paused, allowing the image to form in Mara's mind. "You, Mara, are the loom. You are not the weaver, life is the weaver. The words hung in the air, radical and strange. Life creates the thoughts, the nun continued. Life creates the inspiration. Life creates the fear. These are just threads. Joy, anxiety, doubt, glory. These are all just different colored threads that the universe is passing through you. You have been making a terrible mistake. You have been trying to control the threads. You have been trying to weave a tapestry using only the threads of gold. Mara imagined her workshop, the piles of discarded ideas, the refusal to accept anything less than brilliance. She saw how she had pushed away her fear, her exhaustion, her uncertainty, treating them as enemies to be banished. A tapestry with only gold thread has no depth, the nun said. It has no contrast. It is blinding, but it is flat. To make a true image, to make something real, you need the dark threads. You need the shadows. Your fear is a thread. Your trembling is a texture. Why do you refuse to let them into the cloth? Mara felt a sudden, vertigo-like shift in her perception. For years she had stood guard at the gate of her heart, only allowing the good parts of herself to enter. She was exhausted from the effort of holding back the tide of her own humanity. She realized she had been trying to build a dam in the middle of a flowing river, and the pressure she felt, the friction, was the water piling up against her resistance. Your problem is not that you are afraid, the nun said, her voice dropping to a whisper that seemed to vibrate in Mara's bones. The problem is that you believe you should not be afraid. You believe the fear is a mistake. It is not. It is just a dark thread. Let it be woven. Do not be the weaver who rejects her own materials. Be the loom that holds them all. A profound silence filled the room. The tension in Mara's shoulders, a knot that had been tight for months, began to unravel. If she was the loom, she didn't have to be in control. She didn't have to generate the brilliance. She only had to hold the space for whatever was arising. She was the vessel, not the contents. You are the space through which these things move, the nun said, finalizing the transmission of wisdom. When you go back, do not try to be the great weaver. Just be the loom. Let life weave what it wants through you. If it wants to weave fear, let there be a patch of fear in the design. If it wants to weave glory, let there be glory. Do not cling to the gold, and do not push away the gray. Just hold the tension. Just be. Mara looked at the flame of the lamp. It flickered and danced, never the same shape twice. She felt a lightness she hadn't felt since she was a child. She was not her success. She was not her failure. She was the witnessing presence that held them both. She was the loom, and for the first time in a long time, the loom felt sturdy, capable of holding whatever thread came next. Chapter 4. The Honest Tapestry. The descent from the mountain the next morning was different. The path was the same. The stones were the same, but the woman walking down was not the one who had walked up. Mara moved with a fluid ease, her feet finding purchase on the uneven ground without struggle. The heavy cloak of expectation she had dragged up the slope had been left behind, dissolved in the high mountain air. She carried with her only the memory of the sunset and the image of the sturdy, accepting loom. When she arrived back in the village, the morning sun was just beginning to warm the thatched roofs. She walked directly to her workshop. She did not hesitate at the door. She pushed it open, and the smell of cedar and wool greeted her like an old friend, no longer carrying the scent of dread. The great loom stood in the center of the room, immense and silent, the white warp threads waiting. Before, this sight had paralyzed her. Now she looked at it and smiled. She saw herself in the wood. She touched the frame. "I am the loom," she whispered to the empty room. "I am just the space." She sat down on the bench. She did not try to summon a grand vision of the kingdom. She did not try to force her mind to conjure perfection. She simply reached for the shuttle. Her hands still trembled slightly. The vibration of anxiety was still there, humming under her skin, but instead of freezing, instead of hating the tremor, she acknowledged it. Ah, she thought, here is a dark thread, here is the thread of fear. She chose a spool of dark, uneven wool, a thread she would have previously discarded as unworthy. She began to weave. She wove the trembling of her hands into the pattern. She wove the tightness in her chest into the texture of the cloth. She did not try to hide the flaw. She made it part of the design. As she worked, the rhythm took over, clack, thump, clack, thump. The sound was a heartbeat because she was no longer resisting the fear. The fear began to change. It softened. It transformed from a wall into a wave. As the hours passed, other threads began to appear. She reached for the deep purple of the mountain sunset she had witnessed. She wove it next to the gray of her anxiety. She took the shimmering gold of the Royal Commission and wove it through the darkness, creating a streak of light breaking through a storm. She worked for days, hardly stopping to eat or sleep, not out of a frantic need to finish, but out of a flow of pure expression. She was not dictating the pattern, she was listening to it. She wove her doubt. She wove her grief. She wove the silence of the hermitage and the noise of the village. She wove her whole self, holding nothing back. When the tapestry was finally finished, she cut it from the loom and let it fall. It was unlike anything she had ever made. It was not the perfect, symmetrical, idealized image of the kingdom the king might have expected. It was chaotic. It was stormy. There were patches of roughness where her hands had shaken, and patches of transcendent brilliance where her heart had opened. It was not perfect, but it was honest. It was alive. It hummed with the energy of a real human experience. When the king's messengers came to collect it, they stood before it in silence. They had expected a pretty picture of forests and castles. Instead, they were looking at a mirror of the human soul. They saw their own fears in the dark threads and their own hopes in the gold. The tapestry did not just decorate the wall, it spoke to the room. Mara stood by the side, her hands resting quietly. She felt no anxiety about their judgment. Whether they loved it or burned it, it did not matter. The act of weaving it had already freed her. She had accepted the full spectrum of her own existence. She had stopped trying to be a god and had accepted being human. And in that acceptance, in that honest weaving of the light and the dark, she had found a peace that success could never give her and that failure could never take away. Chapter 5. The Observer's Distance. Mara's story is our story. The friction she felt, the dukkha, was not caused by the Royal Commission or the difficulty of the weaving. It was caused by the clinging to an identity. It was caused by the resistance to the full spectrum of her human experience. She wanted the gold without the gray. She wanted the day without the night. The Buddha's first noble truth points directly to this friction. It tells us that life inevitably contains experiences that are unpleasant: sickness, loss, disappointment, anxiety. These are part of the landscape, just as rocks and steep paths are part of the mountain. They are not mistakes. But the second noble truth tells us that our suffering arises not from these experiences themselves, but from our craving, our thirst for reality to be different than it is. Mara suffered because she craved to be only the perfect weaver. She resisted the threads of fear. This craving is a natural instinct of the untrained mind. We are conditioned to chase pleasure and avoid pain. We build our identities around our successes and try to hide our vulnerabilities in the shadows. But this is like trying to hold back the ocean with a broom. The pressure just builds. The wisdom lies in turning toward our experience with a gentle and courageous curiosity, just as Mara learned to weave her fear. It is about widening our embrace to include all the threads, to bring this wisdom into your own life, right here, right now, as you lie in the dark. You do not need a loom. You do not need a mountain. You can start with your own mind. The first practice is to simply become an observer of the friction. This is the practice of creating distance, not a distance of indifference, but a distance of perspective. Imagine you are a scientist observing a strange new weather pattern, or the nun watching the sunset. When you feel that familiar tightening of anxiety, or the heat of irritation, or the heavy blanket of sadness, try not to immediately get lost in the story of why you feel it. Do not say, "I am anxious because of work tomorrow." That is the story. Instead, pause. Take one conscious breath. Step back and look at the feeling itself. Name it gently to yourself. This is anxiety, or this is the feeling of a tight chest, or this is a busy mind. This simple act of naming creates a space. It breaks the trance. In that space, a profound shift occurs. You realize that if you can see the anxiety, then you are not the anxiety. You are the one looking at it. You are the loom, not the thread. You are the sky, not the cloud. In this space of observation, the emotion loses its power to control you. It becomes just another phenomenon arising and passing away, transient and empty of a solid self. It is just a colored thread moving through the vast, open machinery of your awareness. You can watch it come, and you can watch it go. You remain. Chapter 6. Making Friends with Flaws. You are standing before a mirror. It is not a glass mirror that reflects your face, but a mental mirror that reflects your history. In this reflection, you see the cracks that you have spent a lifetime trying to hide. You see the sharp, jagged line of a relationship you destroyed with your anger. You see the deep, hollow pockmark of a career path you abandoned in fear. You see the hairline fractures of your daily anxieties, the spider web of insecurities that covers your confidence like a veil. Your instinct, honed by years of social conditioning, is to reach for the paint. You want to cover this surface. You want to smooth it over with the plaster of excuses or the varnish of forced positivity. You have been taught that a good life is a seamless life. You have been told that to be worthy of love, you must be unbroken. So you work tirelessly, day and night, in the dark workshop of your psyche, sanding down your edges, hiding your scars, presenting a mask of porcelain perfection to the world. This work is exhausting. It is a form of manual labor that never ends, for the truth is that you are human, and to be human is to break. To be human is to be vulnerable to the fires of loss, the gravity of age, and the sudden impacts of tragedy. The energy you spend hiding your cracks is energy you are stealing from your own life. It is why you are tired. It is why, even when you are resting, you do not feel rested. You are guarding a fortress that is already breached. Now, recall the lesson of Izara and the gold lacquer. What if you put down the paintbrush? What if, instead of hiding the crack, you poured light into it? This is not just a metaphor for pottery. It is a radical strategy for psychological survival. Consider the flaw you are most ashamed of. Perhaps it is your temper. You snap at the people you love. Afterwards, you descend into a pit of guilt. You promise yourself you will never do it again. You suppress the anger, you hide it, you pretend it is not there until it explodes again. This is the cycle of the broken pot remaining broken. Now apply the gold. The gold is awareness mixed with kindness. You say, "I have a temper. It comes from a wound in my past where I felt unheard. It is part of my history." You do not deny it. You do not hate it. You acknowledge it. By acknowledging it with kindness, you change your relationship to it. You are no longer the person who is unconsciously angry. You are the person who is consciously working with the energy of anger. The crack becomes a channel for growth. The place where you snapped becomes the place where you learn to apologize, where you learn humility, where you learn to repair. The relationship becomes stronger in the repair than it was before the break. This is the gold seam. Consider the flaw of your anxiety. You view it as a defect. You think, if I were a stronger person, I wouldn't worry about this. You hide your shaking hands. You silence your trembling voice. But what if you lined this crack with gold? What if you admitted, I feel things deeply. My radar for danger is highly tuned. Your anxiety, when accepted, transforms into sensitivity. It transforms into empathy. Because you know what it is like to be afraid, you can sit with others in their fear without judging them. Your deepest wound becomes your greatest gift to the world. The crack lets the light in, yes, but it also lets your light out. You must understand that the people you admire, the ones who seem to possess a deep and unshakable peace, are not people who have never been broken. They are people who have stopped trying to hide the pieces. They are the kintsugi masters of the soul. They walk through the world with their gold seams shining in the sun. They are not afraid of being seen because they have nothing left to hide. They have accepted their own humanity so completely that their presence gives you permission to accept yours. This practice requires a shift in vision. You must stop looking at your life as a project to be graded and start seeing it as a story to be told. A story without conflict, without error, without loss is a boring story. It has no depth. It has no resonance. The nobility of the human spirit is not found in immunity to suffering. It is found in the way we metabolize suffering. So tonight, in the quiet privacy of your own mind, take a tour of your scars. Walk through the gallery of your regrets. Do not look away. Do not wince. Approach each one with the pot of gold lacquer. Here is where I failed, you say, applying the gold. And here is what I learned. Here is where I was hurt, you say, applying the gold. And here is how I survived. As you do this, you will feel the heavy armor of perfectionism falling away. You will feel the lightness of being real. You are not a statue. You are a living, breathing, breaking, and mending vessel of life. The flaws are not mistakes. They are the geography of your journey. They are the proof that you were here, that you loved, that you lost, and that you kept going. Wear your gold with pride. It is the most beautiful thing about you. Chapter 7. Dismantling the Chariot. We move now from the cracks in the surface to the structure of the self itself. You feel intuitively that there is a you inside your body. You feel like a pilot sitting behind the eyes, pulling the levers of your arms, steering the ship of your life. You believe this pilot, this I, is solid, permanent, and separate from everything else. This belief is the root of your deepest anxiety. If there is a separate I, then it must be protected. It must be defended. It can be hurt. It can die. Let us travel to a monastery known for its silence, hidden deep within a valley of ancient pines. Here lives a monk named Jin. Jin is devout, disciplined, and deeply unhappy. He is plagued by a relentless inner critic. His mind is a courtroom where he is both the accused and the prosecutor. I am not meditating well enough, he thinks. I am too distracted. I am not as compassionate as the others. I am failing. He believes that this I who is failing is a real thing. He believes there is a solid Jin inside who is fundamentally flawed. This belief is a heavy stone he carries in his robe every day. One afternoon, the abbot calls Jin to the courtyard. The abbot is a man of few words and strange methods. In the center of the courtyard sits a magnificent wooden chariot. It is not a real vehicle, but a detailed model crafted with exquisite skill. It has wheels with polished spokes, a curved yoke for the horses, a sturdy axle, and a majestic seat for the driver. Tell me, Jin, the abbot says, pointing to the object. What is this? It is a chariot, master, Jin replies, confused by the simplicity of the question. Are you sure? The abbot asks. He kneels down and removes one of the wheels. He holds it up. Is this the chariot? No, master, Jin says. That is a wheel. The abbot removes the other wheel. He removes the axle. He removes the yoke. He removes the frame. He separates the seat. He places all the parts in a pile on the dusty ground. The courtyard is now empty of the vehicle. There is only a heap of wood and metal. Now, the abbot asks, gesturing to the pile, where is the chariot? Jin stares. The logic is inescapable. The chariot is gone. The wheel is not the chariot. The abbot continues, his voice low and rhythmic. The axle is not the chariot. The yoke is not the chariot. When the parts are assembled in a specific way, we use the word chariot as a convenient label, but the chariot has no independent existence. It is a concept. It is a name we give to a temporary arrangement of parts. The abbot stands and looks directly into Jin's eyes. And so it is with you, Jin. You are searching for the I who is failing. You are judging the Jin who is not good enough. But where is he? Is your body Jin? The abbot asks. If you lose a leg, are you still you? Yes. So the leg is not the self. Is your blood the self? No, it changes every day. Are your thoughts Jin? The abbot presses. Your thoughts come and go like birds in the sky. You have different thoughts today than you did yesterday. If the thoughts change, how can they be the permanent you? Are your feelings Jin? He asks. You feel sad now. Later you will feel hungry, then tired. The feelings are weather. You are not the weather. Jin stands in the courtyard, his mind reeling. He looks for himself, and for the first time, he cannot find the solid, flawed object he thought he was. What you call self, the abbot says, is just like the chariot. It is a label for a collection of processes. Body, feelings, perceptions, thoughts, consciousness. They swirl together for a lifetime, and we call it Jin. But there is no little man inside running the show. There is no static entity to be judged. This is the teaching of anatta, or a not-self. It is terrifying to the ego, but it is liberation to the spirit. If there is no solid I, then who is suffering? Who is anxious? You are holding on to your identity as if it were a precious vase, terrified of dropping it. But the abbot is showing you that the vase was never there. You are clutching at smoke. The anxiety you feel is the fear of the I being damaged. But if the I is just a flow of changing parts, it cannot be damaged any more than a waterfall can be damaged by a stick thrown into it. The stick just passes through. Jin looks at the pile of wood. He feels a sudden dizzying lightness. The heavy stone in his robe is gone. The Jin who was a failure does not exist. There are just thoughts of failure arising and passing. There are just sensations of tension arising and passing. There is no one to own them. You are not a noun. You are a verb. You are not a thing. You are an event. You are happening. You are unfolding. And you cannot pin a label of failure or success on a flowing river. You can only watch it flow. When you realize that the I is a construction, you stop taking everything so personally. The criticism from a boss, it is just sound waves hitting an ear, interpreted by a brain. It is not an attack on a solid soul. The traffic jam, it is just cars and time. It is not a conspiracy against me. Dismantle the chariot of your self-importance. Take off the wheels of your history. Remove the axle of your grievances. Look at the pile of parts. See that you are vast, fluid, and uncontainable. You are not the limited character you play in the movie of your life. You are the screen on which the movie plays, and the screen is never burnt by the fire in the film. Chapter 8. The 5 Aggregates. If you are not the chariot, then what are you? If the solid I is an illusion, what is this experience of being alive? To release anxiety, we must not just dismantle the old view, we must understand the machinery that remains. The Buddha, like a master mechanic, broke down the human experience into 5 distinct piles, or aggregates. These are the components of the self process. When you understand them, you stop identifying with them. The first aggregate is form. This is your physical body. It is the meat and bone, the water and heat. You treat this body as me. You look in the mirror and say, "This is who I am." But look closer. This body is made of food you ate yesterday. It is made of water that fell as rain in a distant forest. It is borrowing oxygen from the plants in your garden. It is a biological rental car. It operates on its own. Your heart beats without your command. Your hair grows without your permission. Your cells divide without your supervision. If you cannot control it, how can it be you? It is simply nature doing what nature does. The second aggregate is feeling. This does not mean complex emotions, but the raw sensation of pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. You touch a hot stove, unpleasant. You taste a strawberry, pleasant. You sit in a chair, neutral. We build our entire lives around chasing the pleasant feelings and running from the unpleasant ones. We become addicts to sensation. But these feelings are like sparks from a flint. They flash and vanish. They are biological signals, not existential truths. You are not the sensation of pain. You are the awareness that notices the pain. The third aggregate is perception. This is the part of the mind that labels things. You see a shape and your mind instantly says tree. You hear a sound and your mind says siren. This mechanism is useful for survival, but it is often wrong. It sees a rope in the dark and screams, snake. It sees a frown on a friend's face and screams, they hate me. Your anxiety lives here in the distorted perceptions of reality. You are reacting to the label, not the reality. The fourth aggregate is mental formations. This is the warehouse of your habits, your impulses, your thoughts, and your will. It is the script you have memorized. When this happens, I do that. When I feel fear, I eat. When I feel hurt, I attack. These are the deep grooves in the mud of your mind. We mistake these habits for our personality. We say, that's just how I am. No, that is just how you have been conditioned. Habits can be changed. New grooves can be cut. You are not your habits. You are the gardener who can prune them. The fifth aggregate is consciousness. This is the basic awareness that lights up the other four. It is the knowing quality. It is the light in the room. But even this consciousness is not a permanent soul. It arises and passes with every moment. You are conscious of a sound, then you are conscious of a thought. Then you are conscious of an itch. It is a flickering flame, appearing continuous only because it moves so fast. Why does this matter? Why does a dry list of 5 parts help you find peace? Because when anxiety strikes, you usually feel it as a solid block of my suffering. It feels huge, heavy, and personal. But if you use this tool, you can break it down. You can deconstruct the monster. You feel anxious. Instead of drowning in it, you analyze it. Where is this anxiety? Well, there is a sensation in the stomach. Form. It is unpleasant. Feeling. My mind is labeling it as danger. Perception. My mind is spinning stories about what might go wrong tomorrow. Mental formations. And there is awareness of all this. Consciousness. Suddenly the monster is just 5 small piles. It is manageable. You see that the sensation in the stomach is just a sensation. It is not a prediction of the future. You see that the scary thought is just a mental formation, a habit of worry. It is not a fact. You create space between the parts. You stop gluing them together into a terrifying whole. You become a scientist of your own experience. You step back from the microscope. You realize that none of these parts are you. They are just phenomena rolling on. The anxiety is not yours. It is just anxiety passing through the system. The anger is not yours. It is just heat passing through the system. This is the ultimate freedom. You don't have to take your own life so personally. You are the space in which these 5 aggregates dance. Let them dance. Let the body ache, let the feelings flash, let the thoughts chatter. You stay as the vast, silent background. You are the sky, and these 5 aggregates are just the clouds, the birds, the wind, and the rain. They can storm all they want. They cannot wet the sky. Chapter 9. The Grain of Rice. We have taken the self apart. We have seen that the chariot is empty. We have seen that the I is just a collection of 5 changing processes. This can leave you feeling lonely, as if you are dissolving into a void. But the teaching of emptiness has a second side, a beautiful, luminous side. If you are empty of a separate self, it means you are full of everything else. Let us find the monk Sila. After years of study, Sila decided that the world was too noisy, too messy, and too distracting. He wanted to find God, or truth, or peace, and he believed he could only find it in total isolation. He hiked high into the granite peaks, far above the timberline, to a cave where the air was thin and cold. I will sit here, he vowed, until I am self-sufficient. I will cut the cords that bind me to the world. I will be an island, pure and untouched. For months he sat. He ate only 1 bowl of rice a day, brought to a lower ledge by a villager he never saw. He meditated on silence. He tried to close his heart to the world below. He wanted to be independent. One morning, as the sun hit the mouth of the cave, Sila looked at his bowl of rice. He was about to eat it mindlessly, as fuel, but something stopped him. He remembered a teaching from his master: to see the truth, look deeply at the smallest thing. So Sila looked at a single grain of rice. He held it on his finger. It was white, hard, and small. But as his mind quieted, the boundaries of the grain began to dissolve. He saw the water. To make this grain of rice, there had to be rain. The rice plant drank the rain. Where did the rain come from? From the clouds. Where did the clouds come from? From the ocean, heated by the sun. So in this tiny grain of white matter, the ocean, the clouds, and the sun were all present. Without the sun, this grain could not exist. He looked deeper. He saw the earth, the soil that held the root of the rice plant, the minerals, the decaying leaves of ancient forests, the worms that turned the soil. The entire history of the earth was in that grain. He saw the farmer. He saw a man with a bent back, wading through the mud of the paddy. He saw the sweat on the farmer's brow. He saw the farmer's parents who gave him life. He saw the tools the farmer used, the plow, the scythe, and the metal workers who made them. He saw the villager who cooked the rice. He saw the wood of the fire that boiled the water. He saw the tree that gave the wood. Sila sat in the cave, trembling. He realized with a shock that shattered his solitude. This grain of rice is not a separate thing. It is a meeting place for the entire universe. The sun, the moon, the earth, the ocean, the labor of thousands of humans, the history of cosmos. It was all here on the tip of his finger. And then he looked at himself. He had tried to be an island, but his body was made of this rice. His breath was the air exhaled by the forests below. His blood was the water from the streams. His thoughts were shaped by the teachers he had left behind, by the language of his ancestors. There was no Chila the hermit. There was only the universe temporarily taking the shape of a monk in a cave. He was eating the sun. He was breathing the forest. He was thinking with the minds of the dead. The illusion of isolation collapsed. He realized that independence is a myth. Nothing exists alone. Everything is supported by everything else. This is the teaching of interbeing. You are not a solitary wave moving through a hostile ocean. You are the ocean. You are connected to every living thing by invisible threads of cause and effect. Why is this comforting? Because your anxiety often comes from the feeling that you are alone against the world. You feel like a small, fragile ego trying to survive in a universe that doesn't care about you. But Sila's vision shows you that the universe is constantly conspiring to keep you alive. The trees are breathing for you right now. The sun is warming you right now. The farmers are growing food for you right now. You are held. You are supported by a web of life so vast and intricate that you cannot even conceive of it. You do not need to fight for your existence. You belong here. You are as much a part of this world as the mountain, the river, and the star. You fit. Sila ate the grain of rice with tears in his eyes. He was no longer eating alone. He was communing with the cosmos. He realized that peace does not come from cutting yourself off. It comes from waking up to the connection that is already there. You are not alone in your room. You are connected to the listener of this message. You are connected to the voice speaking it. You are connected to the electricity powering your device, generated by the wind or the coal or the sun. You are a knot in a magnificent net of jewels. Relax into this web. Stop trying to hold yourself up. Let the web hold you. The burden of being a separate self is too heavy to carry. Lay it down. Dissolve into the vastness of the whole. You are safe because you are everything. Chapter 10. The Web of Life. You have looked at the grain of rice and seen the universe. Now you must look at the invisible threads that bind that universe together. You must understand the law that governs the flow. This law is called dependent origination. It is a long name for a simple, profound truth. Because this is, that is. Because this is not, that is not. Asterisk, nothing stands alone. Nothing has the power to exist by itself. Imagine a vast, infinite net stretching in all directions across the cosmos. This is the net of Indra. At every intersection of the threads, there is a glittering jewel. And in the polished surface of every single jewel, all the other jewels in the net are reflected. Nothing is the source. Everything is a reflection of everything else. You usually see your life as a straight line. You think, I was born, I live, I will die. You think you are a solo traveler walking a lonely road. You believe your successes are yours alone to claim, and your failures are yours alone to bear. This belief is the heavy backpack you carry. It creates the pressure of the self-made man or woman. It isolates you. It tells you that if you fall, no one catches you. But look at your hand again. Look at the lines on your palm. Those lines are not just biology, they are history. You have your mother's eyes. You have your father's temper. You have your grandfather's resilience. You are not a new invention. You are a continuation. The anxiety you feel in your chest, perhaps it is not just yours. Perhaps it is an echo of a fear your grandmother felt during a war you never saw. The joy you feel when you smell rain. Perhaps it is a memory from an ancestor who knew that rain meant survival for the harvest. When you see this, the burden shifts. You realize you are carrying the baton in a relay race that has been going on for millions of years. You do not have to invent the fire, you only have to keep it burning. Dependent origination teaches us that every moment is born from the conditions of the previous moment. The flower blooms because the seed was planted, because the rain fell, because the soil was rich, because the sun shone. If you take away the sun, no flower. If you take away the rain, no flower. The flower does not decide to bloom. The flower is the inevitable result of the universe converging at a specific point in space and time. Apply this to your own mind. You judge yourself harshly for your thoughts. You think, why am I so negative? Why am I so anxious? You blame yourself as if you chose these thoughts from a menu, but thoughts also arise dependently. They come from conditions. You are tired. Irritation arises. You are hungry. Anger arises. You read a frightening news story. Fear arises. You are not a bad person for having these thoughts. You are simply a weather system reacting to the climate. When you understand this, shame evaporates. You stop hating yourself for raining when there are storm clouds in the sky. You say, "Ah, the conditions for rain are present," and you open your umbrella. This teaching also reveals the power of your influence. If everything is connected, then everything you do matters. You often feel insignificant, like a drop in the ocean. You think, "My small actions don't change anything." But in the great web, there are no small actions. When you smile at a stranger, you change the chemistry of their brain. They go home and are patient with their child. The child feels safe and goes to school and learns well. The learning leads to an invention. The invention changes the world. You will never see the end of the chain you started, but the chain is real. When you hold back a harsh word, when you choose patience instead of reaction, you are cutting a thread of suffering that might have stretched on for generations. You are not just healing yourself, you are healing the network. You are polishing your jewel so that it reflects a clearer light to all the other jewels in the cosmos. This is the end of loneliness. You cannot be alone. It is physically and spiritually impossible. Even in the deepest silence, even in the darkest room, you are breathing the air of the world, supported by the gravity of the planet, held by the forces that bind the atoms. You are being lived by the universe. So relax back into the web. Stop trying to hold the whole world on your shoulders. The web is holding you. The conditions that brought you here are vast and mysterious. You are exactly where you need to be, shaped by the stars and the soil, a necessary part of the great unfolding pattern. You are not an accident. You are a consequence of the entire universe saying yes. Chapter 11. The Sitar String. We leave the web of connection and return to the path of the individual. You know now that you are connected, but how do you walk this path without falling? How do you navigate the friction we spoke of in the beginning? The answer lies in a boat floating on a river in ancient India. Long before he became the Buddha, he was a man named Siddhartha. He had tried everything to find peace. He began his life as a prince, surrounded by walls of gold, dancing girls, and feasts of sweet delicacies. He had every pleasure the body could want. Yet he found only emptiness. He realized that pleasure is fleeting, like honey on a razor blade, sweet for a moment, then painful. So he left the palace. He swung the pendulum to the opposite extreme. He became an ascetic. He believed that the body was the enemy, the cage of the spirit. He starved himself until his ribs showed through his skin like the rafters of a collapsed house. He slept on beds of thorns. He held his breath until he fainted. He sat in the scorching sun and the freezing rain. He declared war on his own humanity. For 6 years he strove. He was the champion of self-denial. He was tighter than any knot. But peace did not come. Enlightenment did not come. Only weakness came. His mind became cloudy and dull from hunger. His temper became short. He was dying, and he was no closer to the truth than he was in the palace. One day, collapsed by the side of the Naranjara River, too weak to stand, he saw a small boat drifting by. On the boat, a musician was teaching a student how to play the sitar, a stringed instrument. Siddhartha, through the fog of his starvation, heard the musician speak words that would change the history of the world. "If you tighten the string too much," the musician said, "it will snap. If you leave it too loose, it will not play. The music is in the middle." The word struck Siddhartha like a lightning bolt. He looked at his own life. In the palace, he had been the loose string, flabby, indulgent, producing no music. In the forest, he had been the tight string, strained, brittle, ready to snap. Both extremes were traps. Both were forms of attachment, one to pleasure, one to pain. Neither led to freedom. He realized that the body is not an enemy to be conquered, nor a pet to be pampered. It is an instrument. To play the music of enlightenment, the instrument must be tuned. He stood up. He walked to the river and washed the dirt from his face. A village girl named Sujata saw him and offered him a bowl of rice milk. His ascetic companions watched in horror. They thought he had given up. They thought he had failed. But Siddhartha ate the rice milk. He felt the strength return to his limbs. He felt the fog lift from his mind. He found the center. He found the middle way. This middle way is not a compromise. It is not about being average or mediocre. It is a dynamic point of balance, like a tightrope walker adjusting constantly to the wind. It is the path of sanity between the madness of indulgence and the madness of self-hatred. You too oscillate between these extremes. Look at your life. On some days, you are the tyrant. You whip yourself with productivity. You deny yourself rest. You starve your soul of joy because you think you haven't earned it. You tighten the string until your nerves scream, until your anxiety vibrates at a pitch only dogs can hear. You think this tension is necessary for success. You wear your exhaustion like a badge of honor. Then, inevitably, the string snaps. You collapse. You swing to the other side. You procrastinate. You numb out with screens and food. You sink into apathy. You neglect your responsibilities. You become the loose string, making no sound, just a dull thud. And then the guilt sets in, and you swing back to the tyrant, back and forth, tight, loose, tight, loose. This oscillation is the source of your exhaustion. The middle way is the exit ramp. It is the refusal to play the game of extremes. It is the wisdom to say, I will strive, but I will not strain. I will rest, but I will not quit. It invites you to treat yourself with the same care a musician treats their Stradivarius violin. You keep the wood polished. You keep the strings at the perfect tension. You respect the instrument because without it, there is no music. Siddhartha sat under the Bodhi tree not as a starving beggar and not as a pampered prince. He sat as a human being in balance, and because he was balanced, his mind was clear enough to see the morning star. You do not need to suffer to be spiritual. You do not need to destroy yourself to be worthy, and you do not need to numb yourself to be happy. You need to tune the string. You need to find the note that resonates with clarity and ease. That note is waiting for you in the center, right now. Chapter 12. Tuning Your Life. The theory of the sitar string is beautiful, but how do you tune an invisible instrument? How do you apply the middle way when your boss is yelling, your bills are due, and your mind is racing? The middle way is not a philosophy you frame on a wall. It is a wrench you use to fix your day. You must become a master tuner of your own experience. This requires a new habit, the check-in. Throughout your day, pause. Stop the car. Put down the pen. Close the eyes. Ask yourself a simple question. Where is the tension right now? Imagine a scale from 1 to 10. 1 is a wet noodle, asleep, checked out, lazy. 10 is a steel cable about to snap, panicked, rigid, manic. Where are you? If you are at an 8 or a 9, you are too tight. You are in the realm of the ascetic, punishing yourself. You are likely holding your breath. Your shoulders are likely touching your ears. Your mind is likely screaming, I must, I must, I must. This is the moment to loosen the peg. You do not need to quit your job to do this. You simply exhale. You drop your shoulders. You say to yourself, softly, gently. You remind yourself that a snapped string plays no music. You take a 5-minute walk. You drink a glass of water. You shift your perspective from this is a crisis to this is a task. You bring a quality of kindness to your effort. You move from frantic to focused. If you are at a 2 or a 3, you are too loose. You are in the realm of the sleepy prince. You are avoiding. You are scrolling through a phone without seeing the images. You are letting the hours bleed away because you are afraid to start. This is the moment to tighten the peg. You do not need to scream at yourself. You simply bring a quality of firmness. You sit up straight. You set a timer for 10 minutes. You engage. You say, just this one thing. You bring energy to the system. You wake up. Most of us spend our lives at the extremes. We work until we crash. Then we crash until we panic about work. The middle way is the path of sustainability. It is the steady, rhythmic pace of the marathon runner, not the sprint and collapse of the amateur. Consider your relationship with control. This is the biggest string of all. Being too tight with control is anxiety. It is trying to micromanage the universe. It is rehearsing conversations in the shower. It is worrying about the weather. It is the belief that if you stop worrying, the plane will crash. This is a painful way to live. Being too loose with control is negligence. It is saying it doesn't matter when it does. It is ignoring your health. It is letting your relationships rot because you can't be bothered to tend them. The middle way of control is called influence. You recognize what is in your hands, your effort, your words, your attitude. You grasp these firmly. You recognize what is not in your hands, the outcome, other people's reactions, the future. You open your palm to these. You do your best, and then you let go of the result. You shoot the arrow with all your skill, but once it leaves the bow, you do not try to steer it with your mind. Consider your relationship with others. Too tight is possessiveness, jealousy, demandingness. It is squeezing the bird. Too loose is indifference, coldness, distance. It is ignoring the bird. The middle way is love. It is presence without clinging. It is care without control. You must listen to the sound of your own life. When the note goes flat, add energy. When the note goes sharp, add softness. You are constantly adjusting. Balance is not a statue, it is a dance. It is a bicycle ride. You must keep moving, shifting your weight left and right to stay upright. Start today. Start now. Scan your body. Are you clenching your jaw? That is too tight. Loosen it. Are you slumped in a way that makes you sleepy? That is too loose. Straighten up. Find the dignity of the center. When you live in the middle way, you preserve your energy. You stop leaking power into the extremes. You become efficient. You become calm. You become a vessel that can hold the chaos of the world without cracking. You are tuning yourself to the frequency of peace. Chapter 13. The Hard Heart. We have tuned the instrument. Now we must learn to play the music, and the music of the awakened heart is called metta. Loving kindness. Many of us believe that discipline means being hard on ourselves. We think that if we are kind to ourselves, we will become weak, lazy, and soft. We believe the inner critic is the only thing keeping us in line. We are like a rider whipping a horse, thinking this is the only way to move forward. Let us walk into the forest to meet Vimal. Vimal is a monk who wants enlightenment more than he wants breath. He is the hardest worker in the monastery. He wakes up an hour before the bell. He scrubs the floors until his knuckles bleed. He sits in meditation like a stone statue, but Vimal is miserable. His face is a mask of grim determination. His mind is a knife factory. He judges everyone. That monk is too fat, he thinks. That one sleeps too much. That one laughs too loud. But he saves the sharpest knife for himself. Every time his mind wanders in meditation, he mentally slaps himself. You are weak, Vimal. You are stupid. You will never make it. He hates his own humanity. He hates his own need for sleep, his own hunger, his own wandering thoughts. He believes he can hate himself into holiness. One day his master finds him pacing in the courtyard, muttering angry recitations. The master stops him. Vimal, the master says, you are trying to open a flower with a hammer. You will only destroy it. The master gives him a new practice. For the next month you will stop your studies. You will stop your scrubbing. You will take this small, smooth stone. You will hold it in your hand. You will walk through the forest, and you will say only 3 phrases. May I be happy, may I be safe, may I be at peace. You will say them to yourself. Vimal is insulted. This is child's play, he snaps. I need advanced techniques. I need to conquer my mind. The conquest is over, the master says. Do the practice. Vimal marches into the forest. He clutches the stone. He grits his teeth. May I be happy, he growls. It sounds like a curse. May I be safe. He feels ridiculous. He feels a burning resistance in his chest. A voice inside him screams, "You don't deserve to be happy. You are a failure. You haven't earned it." He struggles for days. The words feel like dry leaves in his mouth. He is fighting a war against the very idea of kindness. Then, one evening, he sits by a stream, exhausted. He watches a mother deer step out of the brush. A tiny, spotted fawn wobbles beside her. The mother nuzzles the fawn. She licks its ears. She does not judge the fawn for being wobbly. She does not kick it for being small. She simply offers it warmth and protection. Vimal watches this simple animal tenderness. He looks at his own hand, clenching the stone. He realizes he has treated himself worse than a wild animal treats its young. He has been his own predator. Something inside him breaks. Not a snapping break, but a melting break. The ice around his heart cracks. He whispers, "May I be happy." And this time, he listens. "May I be safe." He feels the tears prick his eyes. "May I be at peace." He begins to weep. He weeps for the years of cruelty he inflicted on himself. He weeps for the young monk who just wanted to be good. He holds the stone gently now, like an egg. He realizes that kindness is not weakness. Kindness is the only climate in which the heart can grow. You cannot shame yourself into change. Shame freezes you. Shame locks you in the dark. Only love thaws. Only love opens. You are Vimal. You are walking through the forest of your life, clutching the stone of your expectations. You are beating yourself up for not being perfect, for not being further along, for being anxious. You think this harshness is necessary. It is not. It is the barrier. You must drop the hammer. You must pick up the stone of kindness. You must look at yourself, the anxious, trying, stumbling self, and offer the same warmth the deer offers the fawn. May I be happy. Say it, even if it feels fake. Say it until the words wear a groove in the stone of your heart. You are deserving of this love not because of what you have achieved, but because you exist. You are a breathing, feeling being in a difficult world. That is enough. Vimal returned to the monastery. He did not scrub the floors with anger anymore. He scrubbed them with care. He did not judge the other monks. He saw their struggles. His discipline was no longer a whip. It was a walking stick. He had found the strength of the soft heart, and in that softness, he finally found his peace. Chapter 14. The Ripple Effect. The warmth Vimal found cannot be contained. That is the nature of metta, of loving kindness. It is like a fire. Once it is lit, it naturally wants to spread. It wants to consume everything in its path, turning the cold wood of indifference into light. You begin with yourself because you are the nearest being. You are the house where the fire starts. If the house is cold, you cannot warm the guest. But once the hearth is glowing, you must open the door. The practice of expanding kindness is a systematic breaking down of the barriers between me and them. It creates a ripple effect that travels further than you can see. First, you bring to mind a benefactor, someone you love easily, a grandmother, a child, a beloved pet, someone whose image makes you smile without effort. You visualize them, you see their face, you feel their presence, and you send the wish to them. May you be happy, may you be safe, may you be at ease. This is easy. The channel is open. The river flows downhill. You feel the warmth expanding in your chest. Next, you bring to mind a neutral person, the checkout clerk at the grocery store, the bus driver, the person you pass on the street every morning. You know their face, but you do not know their story. To you, they are usually just background actors in the movie of your life. But now, you stop. You realize, this person wants to be happy, just like me. They fear pain, just like me. They have people who love them, just like me. You turn the light of your attention onto them. May you be happy. May you be safe. Suddenly, the background actor becomes real. The cardboard cutout becomes three-dimensional. The world becomes richer. You are no longer walking through a crowd of strangers. You are walking through a crowd of secret kin. Now comes the hardest part, the difficult person, the enemy, the one who hurt you, the one who annoys you, the one whose political views make your blood boil. Your mind will rebel. No, it says, they don't deserve my kindness. They are wrong. They are bad. But listen closely. This practice is not for them. It is for you. Holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. The anger you feel toward your enemy is a poison you are drinking, hoping the other person will die. It is acid corroding the vessel that holds it. When you offer metta to a difficult person, you are not condoning their actions. You are not saying they are right. You are simply putting down the hot coal. You are choosing to stop burning your own hand. You say, may you be happy. You say it because you know that happy people do not hurt others. You know that if this person were truly at peace, they would not be causing suffering. You are wishing for the healing of the root of their bad behavior. You visualize them not as a monster, but as a flawed, suffering human being, acting out of their own confusion and pain. You see the scared child inside the tyrant, and the knot of hatred in your stomach begins to loosen. The acid is neutralized. Finally, you expand to all beings. You let your mind go wide, like the lens of a camera pulling back to see the whole earth. You include the birds in the sky, the fish in the sea, the insects in the grass. You include the people in nations you will never visit. You include the rich and the poor, the saints and the sinners. May all beings be happy. May all beings be free from suffering. Imagine a single drop of red dye falling into the ocean. At first, it is concentrated. Then it spreads. It becomes thinner and thinner until it is invisible. But the ocean has changed. It now contains the dye. Your kindness is the dye. When you practice this, you change the flavor of the atmosphere around you. You walk into a room and you are not emitting a signal of threat. You are emitting a signal of safety. Animals sense it. Children sense it. Even the difficult people sense it, and often they put down their weapons without knowing why. This is the ripple effect. You do not need to be a world leader to bring peace to the world. You just need to be a generator of metta. Every time you wish someone well, you are adding a gram of weight to the side of love in the cosmic scale. You are counteracting the friction. You are smoothing the waves. The web of life we spoke of earlier, the net of Indra, begins to hum with a different frequency. You are no longer just a node of consumption. You are a node of radiation. You are a lighthouse. And in a world that can be very dark, a lighthouse is the most necessary thing of all. Chapter 15, The Diamond in the Coat. We have spoken of the web that holds you and the kindness that warms you. Now we must speak of the treasure that is hidden within you. We return to a story that was whispered in the foreshadowing of our very first hour, a story that holds the key to ending the poverty of your spirit. Imagine a traveler named Kavi. Kavi is a man defined by his lack. He walks the dusty roads of an ancient kingdom, his feet wrapped in rags, his stomach hollow with hunger. He sleeps in ditches. He begs for scraps at the back doors of taverns. He looks at the world with the eyes of a stray dog, fearful, desperate, always expecting a kick or a curse. Kavi believes deeply in his own poverty. It is not just his circumstance, it is his identity. He says, I am a beggar, I am unlucky, I am worth nothing. This belief is the heavy gray coat he wears, tattered and stained, protecting him poorly from the biting wind. Years ago in a life Kavi can barely remember, he had a friend. This friend was a wealthy merchant, a man of great heart and vast resources. One night the two friends drank wine together. Kavi, exhausted by his struggles, fell into a deep, drunken sleep. The merchant looked at his sleeping friend with profound pity. He had to leave on a long voyage before dawn, and he wanted to ensure Kavi never suffered again. He took a diamond of incalculable value, a gem that could buy a province, a jewel that sparkled with the light of 1,000 stars, and he carefully, silently, sewed it into the inner hem of Kavi's old gray coat. The merchant left without waking him. Kavi awoke the next morning, hungover and alone. He wrapped his coat tight around him and walked out into the world, completely unaware of what he was carrying. For 30 years, Kavi wandered. He endured freezing winters, not knowing he carried the price of a palace in his pocket. He endured starvation, not knowing he carried a feast in his hem. He endured humiliation, not knowing he was richer than the kings who ignored him. The diamond was there, millimeters from his skin, vibrating with potential, but because he did not know it, he lived in hell. One day the merchant returned and found Kavi by a roadside, old and broken. The merchant shook him. "My friend," he cried, "why do you live like this? Why have you suffered?" "I have no choice," Kavi mumbled. "I am a poor man." The merchant laughed, a sound of joy and sorrow. "You are not poor. Look." He ripped open the hem of the coat. The diamond fell out, catching the sunlight, blinding in its brilliance. It was as perfect as the day it was sewn. The dirt of the road had not touched it. The years of poverty had not diminished it. Kavi stared. He had been a king playing the role of a beggar. The suffering of the last 30 years was real, yes, but it was unnecessary. It was based on a lack of knowledge. You are Kavi. You walk through your life feeling inadequate. You feel anxious, as if you are lacking some essential ingredient for peace. You think, if I just get that job, I will be whole. If I just find a partner, I will be safe. If I just fix my anxiety, I will be worthy. You are begging for scraps of validation from the world. You are shivering in the wind of your own insecurity. But the teaching of Buddha nature, Tathagatagarbha, tells us that the diamond is already sewn into your coat. Deep within you, beneath the layers of trauma, beneath the noise of the monkey mind, beneath the friction and the fear, there is a core of awareness that is already perfect. It is radiant, it is calm, it is wise. It does not need to be developed. It needs to be discovered. This is the most optimistic teaching in the world. It means you are not fundamentally flawed. You are not sinful or broken. You are simply asleep. You are a wealthy person dreaming they are destitute. The anxiety you feel is the tattered coat. It is real, it feels cold, it is uncomfortable, but it is not you. The diamond inside is the capacity to know, the capacity to love, the capacity to be aware. Notice this: when you are anxious, there is a part of you that knows you are anxious. What is that part? Is the knower anxious? No, the knower is simply observing. The observation is calm. The observation is steady. That is the diamond. When you are angry, there is a part of you that watches the anger rise. That watcher is not angry. It is clear. That is the diamond. You have spent your life trying to patch the coat. You try to fix your personality, improve your habits, polish your ego. But you do not need a better coat. You need to rip open the hem. You need to stop looking outside for what is hidden inside. The spiritual path is not a construction project. You are not building a temple brick by brick. It is an excavation project. You are removing the mud to reveal the gold that was always there. This means you can stop striving so hard. You can stop trying to become somebody. You are already the Buddha disguised as a stressed-out modern human. The peace you seek is not a destination you travel to. It is the place you are standing right now. Trust this. Trust that you are good. Trust that you are whole. When the dark thoughts come, when the feelings of unworthiness rise up like bile, touch your heart. Remind yourself of the merchant's gift. Say to yourself, I am carrying the diamond. I may have forgotten it, but I have not lost it. The coat may be dirty, the coat may be torn, but the jewel is untouched. It is waiting for you to stop begging and start shining. Chapter 16. The Sky and the Clouds. If you have a diamond inside, why does it feel so often like you are holding a handful of mud? If your nature is luminous and clear, why is your mind filled with the smog of worry and the thunderstorms of rage? We must understand the relationship between the mind's nature and the mind's content. To do this, we look up. Imagine the sky, the vast, open, azure sky. It is boundless. It has no edges. It holds the sun during the day and the infinite cosmos at night. It is the definition of openness. Now imagine the weather. Clouds drift in. Some are white and fluffy. These are your happy thoughts, your daydreams of success, your pleasant memories. They drift by and you enjoy them. But then the wind changes. Dark, heavy storm clouds gather. These are your anxieties, your fears, your depressions. Thunder rumbles. This is your anger. Lightning strikes. This is your sudden panic. Rain falls in sheets. This is your grief. Here is the crucial question. Does the storm hurt the sky? Does the thunder crack the blue dome? Does the lightning scar the atmosphere? When the storm is over, is the sky wet? Is it stained? Is it damaged? No. The sky is completely unaffected. It held the storm. It allowed the storm to rage. It gave the storm space to be a storm. But the sky remained the sky, untouched, vast, and free. You are the sky. Your thoughts and emotions are the weather. The mistake you make, the source of your suffering, is that you identify with the clouds. You climb inside the dark thunderhead of anxiety and say, "This is me. I am the storm." You lose your perspective. You forget the blue. You think the darkness is permanent. You think the rain will never stop. But clouds, by their very nature, are transient. They form, they change shape, and they dissolve. No cloud has ever stayed in the same place forever. It is physically impossible. Your emotions are the same. No panic attack lasts forever. No depression lasts forever. They are energy moving through the space of your awareness. When you practice the wisdom of the sky mind, you change your stance. When anxiety arises, you do not fight it. You do not try to push the cloud away. Have you ever tried to push a cloud with your hands? It is futile. It only exhausts you. Instead, you expand. You become the space around the cloud. You say, here is a storm. It is dark, it is loud, but I am the space that holds it. This takes the power out of the fear. The fear needs you to shrink to survive. It needs you to contract around it, to struggle with it. When you expand, when you remember you are the sky, the fear is just a small object floating in a vast room. It loses its grip. You stop apologizing for the weather. You realize that having bad thoughts does not make you a bad person, just as a stormy sky is not a bad sky. It is just a sky with weather. Imagine you are sitting on a mountaintop. You are watching the clouds pass. You see a thought, I am going to fail. You watch it float by. You do not grab it. You do not believe it. You just see it. There is a failing cloud. You see an emotion, jealousy. It is green and sharp. You watch it. There is a jealousy cloud. You see a sensation, tightness in the chest. There is a tension cloud. You remain the witness. You remain the openness. This is the practice of disidentification. It is the secret of sanity. The clear light of the mind, the diamond we spoke of, is this sky-like nature. It is always there. Even when the clouds are so thick you cannot see the sun is still shining above them. The blue sky is still there, right behind the gray. You do not need to create the blue sky. You cannot manufacture it. You only need to wait for the clouds to part, and they will part. They always do. When you are lost in the thick fog of your own mind, when you cannot see your hand in front of your face, remember this truth. The fog is not the terrain. The fog is a temporary condition. You are the terrain. You are the mountain that stands firm while the mist swirls around it. Do not be afraid of your own mind. Do not be afraid of the flashes of lightning. They are just energy. Return to the vastness. Breathe into the openness. Be the sky. The sky has room for everything, but it is clinged to by nothing. That is your nature, limitless, unstained, free. Chapter 17. The Archer. We have discovered the sky, but our minds are often too scattered to rest in it. We are pulled by 1,000 winds. We need a tool to stabilize us. We need the art of concentration. Let us visualize an archer standing on a grassy plain. Her name is Sati. She holds a longbow made of yew, strung with immense tension. Her target is a small red circle, 100 paces away. The conditions are not ideal. The wind is gusting, tugging at her tunic. The crowd behind her is murmuring, whispering doubts. A fly buzzes near her ear. Her own mind is chattering. Remember the last time you missed? Everyone laughed. If you miss now, you lose the prize. If Sati listens to the crowd, she will fail. If she swats at the fly, she will fail. If she argues with her memories, she will fail. Her energy will be scattered, like water thrown from a bucket. To hit the mark, Sati must do something miraculous. She must gather. She plants her feet. She draws the breath deep into her belly, anchoring herself to the earth. She draws the string back, feeling the immense potential power in the tension. Then she withdraws her attention from the world. She pulls her awareness away from the crowd. She pulls it away from the wind. She pulls it away from the past and the future. She funnels all of her consciousness, every drop of her life force, into a single line of sight. The fly disappears. The crowd disappears. The doubt disappears. There is no Sati. There is no bow. There is only the target. This state is called ekagata, one-pointedness. It is the unification of the mind. In this moment of total focus, the archer is at peace. There is no friction because there is no distraction. There is only the pure, immediate reality of the now. She releases the string. The arrow flies true. You are the archer. But most of the time, you are an archer who is trying to shoot while checking your phone, eating a sandwich, and arguing with a ghost from 10 years ago. Your energy is fractured. You call it multitasking. The Buddhists call it monkey mind. The mind jumps from branch to branch, from the email to the news, from the coffee to the worry, from the plan to the regret. You are never fully here. You are smeared across time and space. This scattered state is the breeding ground of anxiety. When your mind is in pieces, you feel weak. You feel overwhelmed. You cannot handle the target because you are not looking at it. Mindfulness is the practice of picking up the bow. It is the deliberate act of gathering your attention. When you wash the dishes, you just wash the dishes. You feel the warm water. You smell the soap. You do not plan your retirement. You aim the arrow at the plate. When you walk, you just walk. You feel the heels strike, the toe push. You do not rehearse an argument. You aim the arrow at the step. When you listen to a friend, you just listen. You do not formulate your reply. You aim the arrow at their eyes. This gathering of energy is powerful. It builds a heat, a fire of presence that burns away the dross of distraction. When you are truly concentrated, anxiety cannot survive. Anxiety requires a future to worry about. Concentration lives only in the present. You may think this focus is exhausting, like holding a heavy weight. But true concentration is relaxing. It is the relaxation of stopping the juggling act. It is the relief of doing only one thing at a time. Imagine the relief of sati when the world narrows down to that single point. It is a holy silence. You can have that silence. You do not need a bow. You have your life. The next email is the target. The next conversation is the target. The next breath is the target. Draw the string back. Gather your scattered self. Bring the puppy of your mind to heel. Be whole. Be here. Aim true. The arrow of your attention is the most powerful weapon you have against the chaos of the modern world. Use it. Chapter 18. The Anchor of Breath. The archer needs a target. For the training of your mind, for the cultivation of the peace we have spoken of, the best target, the most ancient and reliable target, is the breath. This is the technique of anapanasati, mindfulness of breathing. It is the portable anchor you carry with you everywhere, from the moment of your birth until the moment of your death. It is always present, always happening, always true. You do not need to buy it. You do not need to charge it. You do not need to upgrade it. It is the rhythm of life itself. To begin, you sit. You find a posture that has dignity, a straight spine like a stack of golden coins. This alertness signals to the mind that something important is happening. You relax the belly, you soften the eyes. You turn your attention to the physical sensation of breathing, not the idea of breathing, the feeling of it. Where do you feel it most clearly? Perhaps it is the cool touch of air at the rim of the nostrils as you inhale, and the warm touch as you exhale. Perhaps it is the rising and falling of the chest. Perhaps it is the expansion and contraction of the abdomen, like a balloon inflating and deflating. Find that spot. That is your home base. That is the bullseye. You watch the breath come in. In. You watch the breath go out. Out. It sounds simple. It is simple, but it is not easy. Within seconds, the monkey mind will rebel. It will say, "This is boring." It will say, "Did I turn off the stove?" It will say, "My knee hurts." It will kidnap your attention and drag you off into a fantasy about a vacation or a worry about a deadline. Suddenly, you wake up. You realize you have been thinking for 5 minutes. You are not watching the breath. You are miles away. This is the critical moment. This is where the magic happens. Do not judge yourself. Do not get angry. Do not say, "I am a bad meditator." Instead, simply note, thinking. Smile inwardly. You have just experienced a moment of mindfulness. You noticed you were lost. That noticing is the victory. Then, very gently, like training a puppy, guide your attention back to the anchor, back to the nostril, back to the belly. 1 breath, 2 breaths. The puppy runs away again. You bring it back. It runs away again. You bring it back. This return is the muscle you are building. Every time you bring your mind back, you are strengthening your prefrontal cortex. You are wiring your brain for stability. You are teaching your nervous system that you are in charge, not the random thoughts. Deepen your observation. Notice the texture of the breath. Is it long or short? Is it rough or smooth? Notice the gap. At the end of the exhale, before the next inhale begins, there is a tiny pause, a moment of absolute stillness, a vacuum. Rest your mind in that gap. That gap is a window into the void, into the peaceful emptiness we explored earlier. It is a moment of pure rest. The breath is the bridge between the body and the mind. When the mind is agitated, the breath is short and fast. When the breath is slow and deep, the mind calms down. You can use this. When anxiety grips you in the middle of a workday, stop. Find the anchor. Take 3 conscious breaths. Feel the air. In that minute, you step out of the storm and into the shelter. You reconnect the body and the mind, which have been living in different time zones. You are the ocean. The thoughts are the waves. The breath is the tide, moving in and out, steady, rhythmic, unstoppable. Trust the tide. Let the breath breathe you. You don't need to force it. It knows what to do. It has kept you alive while you slept. It will keep you calm while you wake. Just this breath, and now just this one, and now just this one. This is the only place you ever have to be. Chapter 19. The Heavy Raft. We come now to a teaching that challenges your deepest instinct, the instinct to hold on. You believe that safety comes from accumulation, gathering tools, gathering beliefs, gathering defenses. But the wisdom of the path suggests that true safety comes from the capacity to lay things down. To understand this, let us transport your imagination to the edge of a wild, roaring wilderness. There is a traveler here. He is fleeing from danger, perhaps bandits, perhaps wild beasts, perhaps a famine. He runs until he comes to a vast stretch of water. It is a river, wide and treacherous. The current is violent, churning with white foam. There is no bridge. There is no ferry boat. There is no one to help him. Behind him is the danger he is fleeing. Ahead of him is the safety of the further shore. But between the two lies the deadly water. The traveler is resourceful. He does not panic. He gathers what is available. He collects drifting logs, sturdy reeds, and vines from the undergrowth. With great effort and blistered hands, he lashes them together. He builds a raft. He pushes the raft into the swirling current. He climbs aboard, using his hands and feet to paddle, fighting the power of the river. The water splashes his face. The raft groans under the strain. It is a battle for survival. But the raft holds. It keeps him buoyant. It carries him through the danger. Finally, exhausted but alive, he crashes onto the sandy bank of the far shore. He has made it. He is safe. He stands on the dry land, dripping wet, looking back at the river. He looks at the raft that saved him. A thought arises in his mind. This raft is incredible. It was my savior. Without it, I would have drowned. It is the most valuable thing I possess. I cannot leave it behind. So, out of gratitude and attachment, the traveler hoists the waterlogged raft onto his back. It is heavy, cumbersome, and dripping with slime. He begins to walk inland, but the terrain here is different. It is a land of rolling green hills and dense forests. There are no rivers here, yet the traveler insists on carrying the raft. He struggles up the hills, his back bent double under the weight of the logs. He tries to squeeze through the trees, but the wide raft gets stuck in the branches. He cannot run. He cannot rest. He cannot enjoy the safety he fought so hard to reach, because he is crushed by the very instrument of his salvation. The local people look at him with pity. "Why do you carry that heavy thing?" they ask. "There is no water here." "You don't understand," the traveler gasps, sweat stinging his eyes. "This raft saved my life. I must keep it." The Buddha told this story to his disciples and asked a simple question: Is this man wise? The answer, of course, is no. A wise man would realize that the raft has served its purpose. He would look at it with gratitude, perhaps bow to it, and then leave it on the riverbank. He would walk onto the dry land unburdened, free to explore the new terrain. You are that traveler, and you are carrying a raft. Look at your life. Look at the defenses you have built. Perhaps when you were a child, you lived in a house that was chaotic or unsafe. To survive the river of that childhood, you built a raft called silence. You learned to be invisible, to hide your needs, to never speak up. This raft saved you. It kept you safe from criticism or anger. But now you are on the dry land of adulthood. You are in relationships that are safe. You are in a workplace that values your voice. Yet you are still carrying the raft of silence. You still hide. You still swallow your truth. The tool that saved you is now suffocating you. It is preventing you from connecting. It is making you lonely. Perhaps you built a raft called perfectionism. In the river of school or early competition, this raft kept you afloat. It earned you praise. It made you feel worthy, but now it is a crushing weight. It prevents you from taking risks. It keeps you working until midnight. It makes you sick with stress. The raft has become a prison. Perhaps you carry the raft of anger. At one time, anger was the only thing that protected your boundaries. It was a necessary fire, but now you burn everyone who gets close to you. You cannot walk through the forest of love because your raft is too wide. The teaching of the raft is the teaching of nekama, or renunciation. This is often a scary word. We think it means giving up everything we love and living in a cave. But true renunciation is simply the sanity of putting down the raft when you are on dry land. It is the recognition that what got you here will not get you there. The spiritual path is not about accumulating more holiness. It is not about adding more beliefs or more rituals to your backpack. It is a process of subtraction. It is the courageous act of examining your burdens and asking, is this still useful? Does this serve the reality of now, or is it just a memory of a danger that has passed? You cling to your rafts because they are familiar. You cling to your anxiety because in a twisted way, it feels like safety. You think, if I worry, I am prepared. That is a raft. But is it working, or is it just bending your spine and blinding your eyes to the beauty of the present moment? The river is behind you. The danger of the past is gone. You do not need to defend yourself against ghosts. You do not need to prove your worth to people who are no longer in the room. Imagine the relief of the traveler if he simply let the logs drop. Imagine him standing up straight for the first time in years. Imagine him feeling the sun on his back and the wind in his hair, moving with the ease of an empty-handed walker. That relief is available to you. It requires a deep trust. It requires you to believe that you can survive on dry land without the heavy wooden beams of your old coping mechanisms. It requires you to honor the past without being enslaved by it. Thank the raft. It did its job. It was a good raft. But you are not a river crosser anymore. You are a land walker. Put it down. Step away. Walk on. Chapter 20. The Art of Release. The command to let go is easy to say. It is printed on greeting cards and whispered in yoga classes. But how do you actually do it? How do you convince your hands to open when they have been clenched for decades? How do you drop a raft that feels like it is glued to your skin? Letting go is not a mental concept. It is a visceral, somatic act. It is a skill, like archery or weaving, that must be practiced until it becomes muscle memory. We begin by identifying the physical sensation of holding on. Attachment is not just a thought. It is a tension in the body. When you are clinging to a grudge, your jaw is tight. When you are clinging to control, your belly is hard. When you are clinging to the need to be right, your shoulders are raised. The body is the gateway. You cannot think your way out of attachment, but you can breathe your way out. Let us practice the art of release right now. Bring to mind something you are struggling to let go of. A worry about tomorrow, a hurtful comment someone made yesterday, a desire for a specific outcome. Notice where that struggle lives in your body. Locate the contraction. It is there, subtle or sharp. Now visualize your hand. Imagine your hand is clenched into a tight fist around a sharp stone. The stone represents your attachment. You are squeezing it so hard your knuckles are white. It hurts. You are tired. The first step of release is not to throw the stone, but to simply acknowledge the squeezing. I am holding on. This hurts. This is honesty. The second step is the softening. You do not force the hand open. You simply invite the muscles to relax. You send a message of safety to the hand. It is safe to let go. Visualize the fingers slowly uncurling, one by one. The thumb relaxes, the index finger softens, the palm opens. The stone remains there, resting on the open palm, but you are no longer gripping it. This is a crucial distinction. Letting go does not mean getting rid of the thought or the feeling. It does not mean the problem instantly vanishes. It means you stop fighting it. You stop squeezing it. You allow it to be there without the added pressure of your resistance. Now visualize simply tilting your hand. The stone rolls off. It falls to the ground. You are not pushing it away. You are just ceasing to hold it. Gravity does the rest. What remains? An open hand. Empty, but capable. A hand that is clenched cannot receive anything new. A hand that is clenched cannot hold the hand of another. Only the open hand is free. Apply this to your mind. You have a thought, I am not good enough. This is the stone. You usually squeeze it, fight it, argue with it. Instead, open the mental hand. See the thought. The not good enough story. Relax the brain. Relax the space around the thought. Let it sit there on the open palm of your awareness, and then watch it naturally slide away, carried by the river of impermanence. You can use the breath as a tool of release. The exhalation is the body's natural way of letting go. Every time you breathe out, you are releasing carbon dioxide. You are releasing tension. You are releasing the past moment. Try this. Inhale, acknowledging the burden. Exhale, and mentally say the word release. Imagine the burden flowing out with the air. It leaves your body and dissolves into the atmosphere. The trees will take it. The earth will compost it. You do not have to process it all inside your small frame. There is a deeper fear that stops us from letting go. We are afraid of the void. We worry, if I let go of my anger, who will I be? If I let go of my worry, will I stop caring? This is the fear of the traveler losing his raft. But remember the dry land. When you let go of anxiety, you do not become careless. You become present. When you let go of anger, you do not become weak. You become clear. You are trading a clumsy, heavy tool for a refined, powerful one. You are trading the bludgeon of control for the laser of wisdom. You can practice this with small things. Let go of the need to be the first one in the traffic lane. Let go of the need to have the last word in a conversation. Let go of the need for the house to be perfectly clean right now. Each small release is a training repetition. You are training your nervous system that safety lies in openness, not in contraction. Imagine a bird. If a bird clings to the branch, it cannot fly. To fly, it must let go of the wood. It must trust the air. The air is invisible. The air looks like nothing. But it holds the bird. The emptiness you fear is like the air. It is not a void of darkness. It is a medium of flight. When you let go of the heavy weights of your identity and your history, you do not fall. You soar. Trust the release. Open the fist. The relief you feel in your muscles is the same relief your soul feels when you finally put down the story you have been carrying for too long. Chapter 21. The Cup and the Wave. You have opened your hand. You have dropped the raft. Now standing on the open shore of your life, you are ready to understand the nature of the space around you. You are ready for the teaching that is often the most misunderstood, yet the most liberating. The wisdom of shunyata, or emptiness. The word emptiness sounds cold to the Western ear. It sounds like a vacuum, a desolate wasteland where nothing matters. But in the language of the awakening, emptiness does not mean nothingness. It means fullness. It means the absence of separation and the presence of everything. Let us return to the hermitage of Prajna, the wise nun who taught Mara about the sunset. Years have passed. She is now teaching a young student named Anatta. Anatta is struggling. He feels small. He feels isolated. He looks at the world and sees a collection of separate, solid objects, stones, trees, people, all disconnected from him. He feels lonely in a crowded universe. Prajna calls him into her hut. She pours tea into a simple clay cup. She holds the cup up in the shaft of sunlight coming through the window. "Tell me about this cup," she says. "It is a cup," Anatta says. "It is small. It is brown. It holds tea." "Look deeper," Prajna commands. "What is the cup made of?" "Clay," Anatta answers. "And where is the clay from?" "From the riverbank." "And how did the clay get there?" "Rock was washed down from the mountain by the rain and crushed over thousands of years." Prajna nods. "So in this cup there is the mountain, there is the rain, there is the river. To bake the clay, the potter needed fire. To make the fire, he needed wood. To grow the wood, the tree needed the sun." She traces the rim of the cup. "Do you see? This object is made entirely of non-cup elements. If you take away the mountain, the rain, the fire, the wood, and the potter, is there a cup left?" "No," Anatta says. "Exactly. The cup is empty of a separate, independent self. It does not exist alone. It is a temporary coming together of the entire universe. Because it is empty of a separate self, it is full of the cosmos. The sun is in this cup. The clouds are in this cup. The earth is in this cup." Anatta stares at the humble object. It is no longer just a piece of crockery. It is a miracle of interconnection. Prajna then leads him outside to the cliffs overlooking the sea. The ocean is churning. Great waves are rolling in, cresting and crashing against the shore. "Look at that wave," she points. "It rises up. It has a shape. It has a height. It looks like a distinct thing. We call it wave. But does the wave have a self?" "I don't understand," Anatta says. "Can you take the water out of the wave?" Prajna asks. "If you remove the water, is there a wave left?" "No. The wave is just a form the ocean takes for a moment. The wave is empty of being a separate entity. It is the ocean waving. When the wave crashes and disappears, does it die?" "No," Anatta realizes, "it just becomes water again." Precisely. The wave does not need to be afraid of the shore. It does not need to be afraid of ending. It was never separate to begin with. Its form is emptiness. Its emptiness is form. This is the antidote to your fear. You walk around thinking you are a solid, separate cup. You think you have hard edges. You think you are cut off from the rest of life. This creates the fear of breaking. If the cup breaks, it is gone. But you are not the cup. You are the clay. You are the rain. You are the mountain. You think you are a wave, separate from the other waves, competing for height, terrified of crashing into the beach. You think death is the end of the wave. But you are not the wave. You are the water. Emptiness means you are empty of a rigid, permanent definition. It means you are fluid. It means you are a process, not a product. When you understand shunyata, you stop clinging to the form. You realize that the form changes. Youth fades. Circumstances shift. Bodies age. But the essence, the water, remains. This makes you fearless. What can you lose if you are everything? If you are the space in which the stars spin, what can threaten you? You look at your anxiety. It is just a wave. It rises. It crests. It looks scary, but it is just water. It is just energy. It will return to the ocean of your awareness. It has no solid core. You look at your enemies. They are just waves. They are made of the same water as you. They are driven by the same winds of karma. They are not solid evil. They are temporary formations. The world loses its rigidity. The hard edges soften. You are walking through a world of light and flow. You are a ghost of emptiness, but a ghost that is full of love, because you realize that you and the world are one and the same flesh. Chapter 22. Freedom from separation. If you are the water and not the wave, then the walls of your fortress have just collapsed. This sounds dangerous to the ego, which loves walls, but for the spirit, it is the first breath of fresh air in a lifetime. We spend our energy defending a territory that doesn't exist. We build high walls of status, of opinion, of being right, of being a victim, or being a winner. We sit inside these walls, lonely and afraid, guarding our little pile of treasures. We think, this is me, that is you, keep out. The teaching of emptiness reveals that there is no inside and no outside. The air inside a jar is the same as the air outside the jar. If you break the jar, the air doesn't go anywhere, it just merges. When you apply this to your daily life, the relief is instant. Consider the fear of judgment. You are terrified of what others think of you. This fear assumes there is a solid you to be judged, and a solid judge out there. But if you see that you are a flowing process, and they are a flowing process, the judgment loses its stickiness. It is just a sound hanging in the air. It cannot stick to you because you are not a solid target. You are space. Can you pin a metal on a cloud? Can you stab a shadow? No. Consider the fear of aging. This is the fear of the cup cracking. You look in the mirror and see the lines, the graying hair. You panic. I am fading. This is because you identify with the form. You think you are the packaging. But if you know you are the content, the awareness, the love, the life force, then aging is just the changing of the season. The leaf turns from green to gold. It is not an error, it is a transformation. You do not grieve the autumn, you appreciate the new color. You know that the life in the tree does not die when the leaves fall. Consider the pain of loneliness. This is the illusion that the wave is cut off from the ocean. You feel small and insignificant, but when you touch the truth of emptiness, you realize you are continuous with all existence. When you breathe, the forests are breathing into you. When you drink, the clouds are pouring into you. When you stand, the earth is pushing up against you. You are in a constant, intimate embrace with the cosmos. You are never, ever ignored. The universe is touching you in every single moment. This dissolves the desperate need for validation. You do not need people to tell you that you matter. You matter because you are. You are a necessary thread in the tapestry. Without you, the universe would be incomplete. This freedom allows you to play. Life stops being a courtroom and starts being a dance floor. When you are not so obsessed with protecting your self-image, you can be silly. You can make mistakes. You can stumble and laugh because you know the stumble doesn't define you. You can love more bravely. When you know that you and your beloved are made of the same water, loving them is as natural as your left hand holding your right hand. There is no transaction. There is no "what's in it for me?" There is just the flow of care within the one body of life. You stop taking yourself so seriously. The story of my life, that heavy drama you write every day, becomes a light fiction. You can edit it. You can change the genre. You can tear out pages. You are not the book, you are the author. Walk out into your day with this secret knowledge. Look at the people around you. See them not as solid obstacles, but as shimmering fields of energy, empty of separation, full of life. Look at the traffic, the buildings, the trees. See the flux. See the interconnectedness. You are the diamond. You are the sky. You are the ocean. You are the open hand. The walls are down. The fortress is open. And for the first time, you are truly safe because there is nothing left to defend. Chapter 23. The Two Farmers. We have explored the emptiness of the cup and the fullness of the wave. Now we must understand how we move through this fluid world. We must understand the engine that drives the wave. We must understand the law of karma. This word is often misunderstood. You hear it used as a threat. Karma will get you. You hear it used as a resignation. It is just my karma. You view it as a cosmic system of reward and punishment, a scoreboard kept by an invisible judge in the sky. But this is not the teaching. Karma simply means action, and the seed of action is intention. It is the truth that every moment of your life is a planting. You are a gardener, and your mind is the soil. What you plant today, you will eat tomorrow. To understand this, let us look at two brothers who lived on adjacent farms in a fertile valley. Their names were Caleb and Seth. They were both hard-working men. They both rose before the sun. They both tended their rice paddies with sweat and diligence. One year, just days before the harvest, a terrible storm swept down from the mountains. It was a monsoon of unprecedented violence. The wind howled like a demon, and the rain fell like stones. The levees broke, the fields were flooded. In a single night, an entire year of labor was washed away into the mud. The morning after the storm, the sun rose on a scene of devastation. The rice was gone. The fields were ruined. The external event was exactly the same for both brothers. The tragedy was identical. Caleb stood on the edge of his ruined field. His chest tightened. A dark heat rose in his throat. He looked at the sky and screamed. "Why me?" he shouted. "I worked harder than anyone. I was a good man. This is unjust." He allowed the seed of bitterness to fall into the furrow of his heart. He watered it with his anger. He looked at his neighbors whose fields were also damaged. But instead of compassion, he felt envy for those who had lost less. "They don't deserve to survive if I don't," he thought. He went home and kicked his dog. He shouted at his wife for a meal that was cold. He refused to help the village clear the debris, thinking only of his own loss. He sat in his house, drinking rice wine, stewing in the toxic juices of his own resentment. Caleb was planting a future. By reacting with anger, he was strengthening the habit of anger. By isolating himself, he was creating a future of loneliness. The storm destroyed his rice, but Caleb destroyed his life. He created a hell out of a hardship. Seth stood on the edge of his field. He saw the same mud. He saw the same ruin. He felt the same sharp pang of grief in his belly. He did not deny the sadness. He let a few tears fall for the lost harvest. But then he took a breath. He looked at the vastness of the sky. "The storm has passed," he said to himself. "The rice is gone. This is the truth. Fighting the truth will not grow more rice." He looked at the mud. "This mud will be good fertilizer for next year," he thought. He turned to his wife. "We are alive. We have our hands. We have each other." He walked to Caleb's house, intending to help his brother, but Caleb turned him away with a curse. Seth did not return the curse. He went to the village center. He found others who were weeping. "Come," he said, "let us work together. If we clear the canals now, we can plant a winter crop." Seth was planting a future. By reacting with acceptance, he was strengthening the muscle of resilience. By reaching out, he was creating a community that would support him when he was old. He created a sanctuary out of a hardship. This is the law of karma. It is not what happens to you. It is how you respond to what happens to you. You are Caleb. You are Seth. Every day, small storms sweep through your life. An email brings bad news. A car cuts you off. A plan falls apart. These are the storms. They are neutral events in a chaotic universe. The moment of karma is the split second after the storm hits. It is the gap between the stimulus and the response. In that gap, you have the power of a god. You choose the seed. If you choose the seed of "this is unfair," you grow a forest of thorns. You become a victim. The world becomes a hostile place because you have painted it with the brush of your own resentment. If you choose the seed of "this is what is happening, how can I be kind?" you grow an orchard of fruit. You become a creator. The world becomes a workable place because you are bringing the light of wisdom to it. You often feel trapped by your past. You think, I have always been anxious, so I will always be anxious. This is false. Your past karma has created your present situation. Yes, it shaped your habits. But your present karma, your intention right now in this breath, is creating your future. You are not the victim of your history. You are the architect of your destiny. When you notice anxiety arising, you have a choice. You can plant the seed of panic. Oh no, here it comes again. I am weak. Or you can plant the seed of compassion. Ah, here is fear. It is trying to protect me. I will hold it gently. The first seed creates more anxiety. The second seed creates peace. This teaching empowers you. It means you are never helpless. Even in a prison cell, even in a hospital bed, even in the midst of a divorce, you have the freedom to choose your mental attitude. You have the freedom to plant a seed of love. Start today. When you walk into your kitchen and see a mess, pause. Do not plant the seed of irritation. Plant the seed of service. Clean the cup with love. When someone speaks rudely to you, pause. Do not plant the seed of defense. Plant the seed of patience. These small seeds seem insignificant, but remember the forest. The tallest oak starts as a nut you can hold in your palm. A life of peace is not given to you by luck. It is grown day by day, choice by choice, seed by seed. You are the farmer. The rain will fall, the sun will shine, the storms will come, but the harvest is entirely up to you. Chapter 24. The boulder. We are nearing the end of the path. We have learned to weave, to flow, to mend, and to plant. But what is the ultimate goal? What does it feel like to finally arrive at the destination of this long journey? The word used in the ancient texts is nirvana. It is a word that has been cheapened by pop culture, used to sell mattresses and ice cream, but its true meaning is stark, beautiful, and profoundly physical. Nirvana literally means to blow out, to extinguish, like a candle flame that flickers and then vanishes, leaving only the cool, dark peace of the room. What is being blown out? Not your life, not your personality, not your joy. What is blown out is the fire of greed that says, I need more to be happy, the fire of hatred that says, I need to destroy this to be safe, the fire of delusion that says, I am a separate, solid self that must be defended at all costs. These three fires burn in your chest all day long. They consume your energy. They create the heat of anxiety. They create the smoke of confusion. Imagine a man who has carried a massive boulder on his back since the day he was born. The boulder is rough granite, heavy and sharp. It weighs as much as he does. He carries it everywhere. He carries it to work. He carries it to bed. He carries it while he eats. He has carried it for so long that he has forgotten it is there. He thinks the pain in his spine is just what having a spine feels like. He thinks the heaviness in his legs is just gravity. He thinks the shallow gasping of his breath is just how breathing works. He assumes this struggle is the natural state of existence. He looks around and sees everyone else carrying boulders too, so he never questions it. He adjusts his posture to accommodate the weight. He buys special cushions to make the boulder more comfortable. He goes to therapy to talk about his relationship with the boulder, but he never puts it down. Then one day, through the practice of mindfulness, through the insight of emptiness, through the cultivation of letting go, he hears a voice. It is the voice of his own wisdom. Put it down, the voice whispers. I can't, he replies. It is part of me. It is not you, the voice says. It is a rock. Put it down. He hesitates. He is afraid of who he will be without the weight. He is used to the struggle. The struggle gives him a sense of purpose. But the pain is too great. So he leans forward. He undoes the straps of attachment. He shrugs his shoulders. With a thunderous thud, the boulder hits the earth. He stands up. For the first time in his life, his spine straightens completely. His lungs expand to their full capacity, taking in a gallon of sweet, fresh air. His legs feel light, as if he could jump over the moon. The sensation is not an explosion of fireworks. It is not a choir of angels. It is something much better. It is relief. It is the exquisite, cool, pervasive relief of the cessation of pain. The fire has gone out. The burden is gone. This is nirvana. It is the great coolness. You are carrying the boulder. The boulder is your narrative. The boulder is your constant need to be someone, to go somewhere, to prove something. You are carrying the past. Every mistake, every hurt, every regret. You are carrying the future, every worry, every plan, every fear. You are exhausted. I know you are. That exhaustion is the weight of the rock. The teaching of the Buddha is simply this: you can put it down. You do not have to wait until you die to rest. You can rest right now. Nirvana is not a place you go to after death. It is a state of mind available in this very life. It is the moment you stop fighting reality. It is the moment you stop needing the present moment to be different than it is. When you drop the boulder of, I need this to be different, you are free. The traffic jam is just cars. The rain is just water. The sensation is just energy. Nothing is personal. Nothing is heavy. A person who walks without the boulder interacts with the world differently. They are light. They are quick to laugh. They are easy to be with. When you meet them, you feel peaceful because they are not projecting the heat of their own struggle onto you. They still feel pain. If you pinch them, they say, ouch. But they do not carry the memory of the pinch for 10 years. They experience the pain and then they let it go. They are like a bird flying through the sky. They leave no track. You have the capacity for this lightness. It is your birthright. You were born without the boulder. You picked it up along the way. And because you picked it up, you can put it down. Try it now, just for a second. Visualize the burden of your anxiety. Visualize the weight of your identity. Exhale and drop it. Feel the space that opens up. Feel the coolness. This space is not empty. It is full of potential. It is full of peace. It is the ground on which you can finally, truly dance. Chapter 25. The Weaver Returns. We return now to the beginning. The circle closes. We are back in the mountain village. We are back in the workshop with the heavy oak door. The lamp is still burning, though the oil is low. Mara stands before her loom. It has been hours since she left to see the nun Prajna. It has been a lifetime of internal travel. She has watched the sunset. She has seen the cracked pot. She has dismantled the chariot. She has floated on the raft and left it behind. She looks at the empty loom. The royal commission is still there. The king still expects a tapestry that captures the essence of the kingdom. The task has not changed. The world has not changed. But Mara has changed. She steps closer to the loom. She picks up the shuttle. Her hands are steady. The trembling is gone, not because she is certain of success, but because she is no longer afraid of failure. She understands now that she is not Mara the Great Weaver. She is a flow of energy, a channel for the creative force of the universe. She is the loom, not the thread. She picks up a spool of crimson silk. She does not think, this must be perfect. She thinks, this is red. Let us see where it wants to go. She begins to weave. Clack thrum, clack thrum. The rhythm is the heartbeat of the cosmos. She weaves the friction she felt earlier, using rough, dark threads to create a texture of mountains. She weaves the flow she learned from the river, using blue silk that ripples and shines. She weaves the cracks she accepted, using veins of gold thread that slash through the pattern, bold and unapologetic. She weaves her fear, and it becomes beauty. She weaves her sorrow, and it becomes depth. She weaves her joy, and it becomes light. She is not trying to impress the king. She is not weaving for a reward. She is weaving because it is her nature to weave, just as it is the nature of the sun to shine and the bird to sing. She is resting in the action. She is the archer hitting the target without aiming. The tapestry that emerges is unlike anything she has ever made. It is not technically perfect. There are knots, there are irregularities, but it is alive. It vibrates with the truth of human experience. It tells the story of the broken pot, the grain of rice, the open hand, and the dropped boulder. When the king sees it, he weeps, not because it is flawless, but because it feels true. He sees his own struggles in the dark threads and his own hope in the gold ones. Mara has woven a mirror for the soul. You are the weaver. You have always been the weaver. For the last 3 hours, you have sat in this workshop with us. You have unraveled the knots of your anxiety. You have looked at the threads of your life with new eyes. The loom is waiting. Your life is waiting. You do not need to go to a mountain cave. You do not need to become a monk. You simply need to bring this new understanding into your kitchen, your office, your car, your relationships. The peace you found here is not an illusion. It is the most real thing you have. It is the sky that was always behind the clouds. Do not let the thread break here. This state of calm is a seed you have planted. To make it grow into a forest, you must water it. You must return to the water source. This channel, Sleepy Monk, is your well. It is your sanctuary. It is the place where you can come to set down your burden, even if just for a while. If you have felt the shift, if you have felt the boulder move even an inch, I invite you to subscribe. Join this community of weavers. Let us continue to remind each other of the light. Let us continue to walk each other home. The lamp in the workshop flickers one last time and steadies into a warm golden glow. The work is done. The rest begins. You are safe. You are whole. You are free. Weave your life well. Good night. Chapter 26. The Illusion of Tomorrow. You have learned to weave your reality, to mend your cracks with gold, and to drop the heavy burdens of the past. But there is one final thief that steals your peace, perhaps more than any other. It is a thief that lives in your mind, constantly whispering about a place that does not exist. That thief is the concept of tomorrow. We are now going to address the anxiety of time. Imagine a man walking through a beautiful sunlit forest. The birds are singing a complex melody. The scent of pine needles rises from the warm earth. The light filters through the canopy in cathedral shafts of green and gold. It is a paradise. But this man is not seeing the forest. He has a pair of binoculars strapped to his eyes. And these are not ordinary binoculars. They are magical. They only show him what lies 3 miles ahead on the path. He sees a steep hill in the distance. He sees a dark cloud gathering on the horizon. He sees a section of the trail that looks rocky and difficult. So, while his feet are walking on soft moss in the sunlight, his mind is climbing the rocky hill in the rain. His body tenses. His breath shortens. He begins to sweat, not from the exertion of the present moment, but from the exertion of the imaginary future. He stumbles over a root in the present because he is looking at a rock in the future. He misses the song of the bird because he is listening for the thunder of a storm that has not yet arrived. This man is suffering from time sickness. He is living in a hallucination. He is enduring the pain of a future that has not happened, and by doing so, he is destroying the only reality he actually has, the now. You are this man. You spend the vast majority of your mental energy inhabiting a time zone that is purely imaginary. You wake up in the morning, and before your feet hit the floor, your mind has already rushed ahead to the meeting at 2 p.m. You are showering, but you are not feeling the water. You are having an argument with a colleague that might happen next week. You are eating dinner, but you are not tasting the food. You are worrying about retirement or the economy or the climate in 10 years. You are chronically absent from your own life. You treat the present moment as nothing more than a waiting room, a dull and inconvenient lobby that you must endure until you get to the real event in the future. But the tragedy is that when you arrive at the future, you turn it into another waiting room for the next future. You are always leaning forward, off balance, chasing a horizon that retreats as you approach it. The Buddha taught that the past is a memory, a ghost. The future is a projection, a dream, the only place where life actually touches you, the only place where you can breathe, act, love, or be at peace, is the immediate present. The anxiety you feel is caused by the gap between where your body is and where your mind is. Your body is here, safe in bed or sitting in a chair. Your mind is in a catastrophe movie about next month. This stretch, this tension, creates the vibration of fear. To heal this, we must practice the art of returning. Let us go back to the forest. Imagine the man stops. He lowers the binoculars. He blinks. Suddenly, the rocky hill vanishes. The dark cloud vanishes. They were only images in the glass. What remains? Just this step, just this tree, just this breath of air. He realizes that he does not have to climb the hill right now. He only has to take one step on the moss. He realizes that he does not have to weather the storm right now. He only has to feel the sun that is shining now. The burden of the future is infinite. You cannot carry it. It is too heavy for any human shoulders. But the burden of the present is always manageable. You can always handle this moment. You can always handle this breath. You can always handle this sensation. When you feel the panic of what if rising in your chest, ask yourself a radical question. At this exact moment right now, is there a problem? Look around you, not in your thoughts, but in your room. Is there a tiger attacking you? Is the roof falling in? Is your body starving? Usually, the answer is no. In this exact second, you are okay. You are breathing. You are supported. The problem is only in the imagination of the next second. When you realize this, you can build a sanctuary in the now. You can draw a circle around the present moment and say, I will only live inside this circle. If you are washing a cup, the universe is only the cup, the water, and the hand. There is no future where the cup breaks. There is no past where the cup was dirty. There is only the sensation of warm water and soap. This is peace. If you are driving, the universe is only the road, the wheel, and the sky. There is no destination. There is only the journey. This does not mean you don't plan. You can look at the map. You can pack your bag. But you do not live on the map. You live on the territory. You make the plan, and then you put it away and return to the step. Trust the future to take care of itself. The version of you that arrives at the difficult hill 3 miles from now will be stronger, wiser, and more resourced than the version of you who is worrying about it in bed. That future, you will handle it when it becomes the now. Trust your future self. They will have the adrenaline they need. They will have the words they need. You do not need to hoard the energy now. Your life is a string of present moments, like pearls. If you take care of this pearl, polishing it with your attention and love, the necklace will be beautiful. If you crush this pearl while trying to grab the next one, you will have nothing but dust. Stop looking through the binoculars. Look at your hands. Look at the light in the room. Listen to the silence. This is it. This is your life. And it is happening right now. Chapter 27. The Silent Gardener. We have stopped rushing toward the future. Now we must learn how to wait. In our modern world, patience is seen as a weakness. We want instant coffee, instant messages, instant gratification, and instant enlightenment. We treat time as an enemy to be defeated. We want to hack our lives to get to the good part faster. But nature does not hack. Nature unfolds. There is an ancient story from the East about a foolish farmer. He was a man of great ambition and high anxiety. He wanted to be the most successful farmer in the province. He planted his rice seeds with great care. He watered them. He fertilized them. Every morning he would run to the field to see how much they had grown. For the first few days he saw nothing but bare earth. He was frustrated. "Why is nothing happening?" he grumbled. "I am working so hard." Finally, tiny green shoots broke through the soil. The farmer was delighted, but his delight quickly turned to impatience. They were growing so slowly, millimeter by millimeter. At this rate, it would take months before he had a harvest. He paced around the field. He couldn't sleep. He felt that the slow growth of the rice was a personal insult to his ambition. One night, struck by a brilliant idea, he ran out to the field under the moonlight. "I will help them," he whispered. He went to the first shoot, pinched it gently between his fingers, and pulled it upward just a little bit. "There," he said. "Now you are taller." He went to the next shoot and pulled it, and the next. He worked all night, sweating, his back aching, pulling every single rice shoot in his massive field until they were all an inch taller. He went home, exhausted but proud. "Ye have done a great day's work," he told his wife. "I have sped up the harvest." The next morning the sun rose hot and bright. The farmer ran to his window to admire his tall crop. But what he saw made him fall to his knees and weep. The field was brown and dead. All the rice plants had withered. By pulling them up, he had broken their roots. In his haste to force them to grow, he had killed them. You are the farmer. Your anxiety is the urge to pull the rice. You want your career to move faster, so you push and force and burn bridges, only to find yourself exhausted and resentful. You want your relationship to deepen instantly, so you pressure your partner only to find them pulling away. You want your healing from trauma to be finished now, so you rip at your own psychological roots, demanding to be fixed, only to find yourself re-traumatized. This chapter is an invitation to the philosophy of Wu Wei, effortless action. It is the wisdom of the silent gardener. The silent gardener knows that growth is a mystery. It happens in the dark. It happens underground. You cannot force a seed to open. You cannot force a fruit to ripen. You can only create the conditions. You till the soil. You provide the water. You ensure the sun can reach the leaves. And then, this is the hardest part, you take your hands away. You wait. You trust. You trust the intelligence of the seed. The seed knows how to become a plant. It has a blueprint encoded in it that is millions of years old. It does not need you to pull it. It needs you to protect it and leave it alone. This waiting is not passive. It is an active state of alert, loving presence. It is the patience of a mother watching a sleeping child. She is not doing anything, yet her presence is essential. Look at the areas of your life where you feel the most friction. Are you pulling the rice? Are you trying to force a timing that is not natural? Perhaps you are in a period of winter. The fields are bare. You feel unproductive. You feel stagnant. Your anxiety says, do something, make it happen. But the silent gardener says, rest, the earth is regenerating. If you plant now, the frost will kill the seed. Wait for spring. There is a season for everything, a season to plant and a season to harvest. You cannot harvest in the planting season, no matter how hard you work. When you align yourself with the natural rhythm of your life, the anxiety dissolves. You stop fighting time. You realize that you are exactly where you need to be. The slowness is not a mistake. It is the necessary pace of deep growth. Bamboo grows underground for 5 years, building a massive root system before it breaks the surface. Then, in 6 weeks, it shoots up 90 feet. If you judge the bamboo in year 3, you would call it a failure. But it was just preparing. You are building roots. You are growing in the dark. Trust the process. Stop pulling at your life. Let it unfold. The harvest will come, and it will be abundant if you can only learn to keep your hands gentle and your heart patient. Chapter 28. The Gatekeeper. We have learned to trust the timing of our outer life. Now we must learn to trust the content of our inner life. We spend so much energy acting as a bouncer at the door of our own hearts. We have a VIP list of emotions we allow inside. Joy, excitement, calm, confidence. When these guests knock, we open the door wide. Come in, we say. Stay as long as you like. But when the unwanted guests arrive, fear, sadness, jealousy, anger, we slam the door. We lock the deadbolt. We turn off the lights and pretend we are not home. But these guests are persistent. They bang on the windows. They shout through the letterbox. The more we resist them, the louder they get. The energy we spend holding the door shut is the energy of anxiety. It is exhausting to live in a besieged fortress. Let us adopt a new role. You are no longer the bouncer. You are the gatekeeper of a vast and beautiful guest house. This guest house is your awareness. It has many rooms. It has high ceilings. It is built to accommodate the entire spectrum of human experience. One morning, Joy arrives. She is bright and laughing. You welcome her. You serve her tea. You enjoy her company. But you know she will not stay forever. She is a traveler. That afternoon, a dark, heavy figure knocks. It is Grief. He is covered in dust. He smells of rain. Your instinct is to bar the way, but the wise gatekeeper knows that Grief has a message. Grief brings depth. Grief brings the capacity to value what we have lost. So you open the door. You do not have to like him. You do not have to agree with him. You simply offer him a chair near the fire. You say, I see you, Grief. You are here. You may rest. When you acknowledge him, Grief softens. He sits down. He stops banging on the walls. He becomes quiet. He is just a guest. Then comes anxiety. She is frantic, shaking, chattering about disasters. She runs around the room, checking the locks, looking under the rugs. Instead of fighting her, instead of screaming, "Get out!" the gatekeeper watches her with compassion. Anxiety is visiting. She is trying to keep me safe. She is confused, but she is trying. You let her run around. You do not let her run the house. You do not let her drive the car or make the decisions, but you allow her to be in the room. You treat her like a frightened child. You offer her a blanket. This practice is called equanimity. It is the radical acceptance of whatever arises. It is the understanding that you are the house, not the guest. The house is never damaged by the guests. If a messy guest comes in with muddy boots, the floor gets dirty, but the foundation of the house remains solid. You can sweep the floor later. When you stop fighting your emotions, a strange thing happens. They lose their power to hurt you. They become fluid. They flow in and they flow out. The depression that used to stay for months, fed by your resistance and self-judgment, might now stay only for a few days. The panic that used to paralyze you might now pass in minutes. Why? Because you are not feeding them with the energy of conflict. Imagine you are standing at the gate of a monastery. You simply bow to whoever enters. Welcome, joy. Bow. Welcome, pain. Bow. Welcome, peace. Bow. Welcome, chaos. Bow. This bowing is the ultimate act of power. It says, I am large enough to contain this. I am not afraid of my own life. You do not need to curate your experience. You do not need a perfect inner life to be peaceful. You can have a riot going on in the living room and still be at peace in the attic of your awareness. Tonight, unlock the door. Take down the no trespassing sign. Let the guests come. Let them laugh. Let them cry. Let them scream. You sit by the hearth, the wise, silent keeper, watching the play, knowing that eventually every guest leaves and the silence returns. Chapter 29. The Cloud That Never Dies. We have navigated the river of time. practiced the patience of the gardener, and opened the doors of the guest house. Now we must approach the threshold that frightens us the most. We must face the ultimate source of all human anxiety, the fear of ending, the fear of death. It is a fear that often hums in the background, a low-frequency vibration that makes us cling to our youth, cling to our health, and cling to our identity. We are terrified of the abyss. We are terrified of non-existence. We believe that we are a candle flame and that death is a wind that will blow us out, leaving nothing but darkness. But let us sit by a riverbank on a warm summer afternoon and look up. High above, floating in the azure expanse, is a cloud. It is a beautiful cloud, fluffy, white, and distinct. It has a shape. It has a life. If the cloud could think, perhaps it would be afraid. It might look down at the earth and think, I am a cloud. This is who I am. I love being fluffy. I love floating. But I'm getting smaller. I am changing. Soon I will disappear. I will die. I don't want to die. The cloud begins to weep. It is terrified of its own transformation. But look closely at what happens when the cloud dies. It does not vanish into nothingness. It becomes rain. The rain falls down to the earth. It sings as it hits the leaves. It flows into the river. The river flows into the ocean. The ocean is heated by the sun, and the water evaporates to become a cloud again. The cloud does not die. It transforms. It changes form. It goes from being a gas to being a liquid, from floating to flowing. It is a journey, not an end. If you look into your cup of tea, you can see the cloud. The cloud is in your tea. Without the cloud dying to its form as a cloud, you could not drink the tea. The cloud is alive in a new way. This is the teaching of no birth and no death. The Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh taught us to ask, before you were born, what were you? You were not nothing. You were the nutrients in the soil. You were the light of the sun. You were the genetic material in your parents. You were the oxygen in the atmosphere. You were scattered across the universe, waiting to come together. And when you die, you do not become nothing. You return to the universe. Your body returns to the earth to feed the flowers. Your breath returns to the wind. Your actions, your karma, continue to ripple through the people you touched. You are like a wave on the ocean. The wave has a beginning and an end. It rises and it crashes, but the water has no beginning and no end. You are the water. When you understand this, the gripping fear of mortality begins to loosen. You realize that death is just a concept created by our limited vision. We see the cloud disappear and we say, it is gone. But science tells us that matter and energy can never be created or destroyed. It only changes. You are energy. You are stardust that has come together for a brief, beautiful dance called a human life. When the dance is over, the dancer does not vanish. The dancer simply rests, dissolving back into the great energy field from which she came. Think of a candle flame. We light one candle from another. The flame passes from wick to wick. Is it the same flame, or is it a different flame? It is a continuum. Your life is a flame passed down from your ancestors. You will pass it on to the future through your children, your work, your kindness. The heat you generated will warm the world long after your wick has burned down. This perspective shifts us from fear to curiosity. Instead of dreading the end, we can see it as a great reintegration, a return to the source, a homecoming. Imagine a child who has been playing dress-up all day. She has worn the costume of a doctor, then a knight, then a pilot. She has played hard. Now evening comes. Her mother calls her. Time to take off the costume, the mother says. Time to rest. The child takes off the costume. Is she sad? Perhaps a little. She liked the game, but she is also tired. She is ready to just be herself again, without the heavy clothes, without the roles. She lies down in her bed, which is soft and warm. She closes her eyes. She drifts into the great sleep. Death is the removal of the costume. It is the laying down of the heavy burden of the self. The I that needed to be defended. The I that was anxious. The I that struggled. That I is the costume. When you take it off, what remains is the pure, luminous awareness that has always been there. The abyss you fear is not a dark pit. It is a warm womb. It is the great mystery. So look at the autumn leaves falling from the trees. They do not cling to the branch in terror. They let go. They dance down to the earth. They become the soil that nourishes the tree for the next spring. They participate in the cycle of life. You are nature. You are not separate from this cycle. You are safe in it. Let this understanding bring a deep relaxation to your bones. You do not have to hold yourself together forever. You are allowed to eventually let go. You are allowed to return to the ocean. And until that moment comes, you are the cloud floating in the blue sky. Enjoy the float. Enjoy the view. Be fluffy. Be white. Cast a cooling shadow on the earth. And when the time comes to rain, rain with your whole heart, knowing that you are simply becoming the river that flows home. Chapter 30. The Return to the Marketplace. We have arrived at the final chapter of our journey. We have traveled far, you and I. We started in the panic of Mara's workshop. We walked up the mountain to see the sunset. We sat in the cave with the grain of rice. We crossed the river on the raft. We tuned the sitar. We mended the cracked pot. We watched the cloud become rain. You have gathered many jewels of wisdom along the way. You have felt the friction ease. You have felt the burden lighten. You have touched the diamond in your coat. But now a danger arises. The danger is that you might think this peace belongs only on the mountain. You might think that to be spiritual you must remain in the cave, away from the noise, away from the emails, away from the traffic. You might think that the real world is the enemy of your peace. But the ultimate stage of the Buddhist path is not the ascent. It is the descent. It is the return to the marketplace. In the ancient Zen tradition, there are 10 pictures that describe the path to enlightenment. The final picture shows the master returning to the village. He is not glowing with holy light. He is not floating on a cloud. He looks like an ordinary old man. He is walking into the market carrying a sack of gifts. With a smile on his face, he is chopping wood and carrying water. But now the wood is just wood, and the water is just water. There is no struggle, there is no resistance. He is in the world, but not of it. This is your challenge. This is your invitation. To take this peace you feel right now, this soft, golden light in your chest, and carry it back into the workshop, to carry it back to the loom. Mara returns to her work. The king's commission is waiting, but now she weaves with a different hand. She weaves without the desperation of the ego. She weaves with the joy of the craft. If a thread breaks, she fixes it with gold. If the pattern changes, she flows with it. She is the loom, holding it all. You must return to your life. The bills are still there. The difficult people are still there. The noise of the world is still there. But you are different. You have the secret knowledge. You know about the raft. You know you can put it down. You know about the guest house. You know you can open the door. You know about the cloud. You know you cannot die. When the friction arises, and it will, you will smile. You will say, "Ah, friction, I remember you." And you will not tighten around it. You will breathe. You will remember the sitar string. You will adjust. You will walk through the crowded market of modern life, and you will be a secret agent of calm. When everyone else is running, you will walk. When everyone else is shouting, you will listen. When everyone else is hoarding, you will give. You will be the one who brings the coolness of nirvana into the heat of the fire. You will be the damp cloth on the fevered brow of the world. This is the true victory, not to escape the world, but to heal it by being a presence of peace within it. Now, as we bring this journey to a close, I want you to prepare for a deep rest, the kind of rest that comes after a long, successful harvest. Visualize yourself standing at the edge of a beautiful, quiet village at twilight. The work is done. The tools are put away. The fire is lit in the hearth. You are holding a lantern. Inside this lantern is the flame of your own awareness, the diamond light you rediscovered. It glows steadily, protected from the wind. You walk slowly toward your home. With every step, you feel the earth supporting you. You enter your home. It is warm. It is safe. You set the lantern down. You take off the heavy coat of your identity. You take off the shoes of your ambition. You lie down on a soft bed. Feel your body sinking into the mattress. The spine is uncurling, dropping the boulder into the earth. The shoulders are melting. The hands are open, palms facing up, grasping nothing. The jaw is loose. The eyes are soft pools of darkness. You are returning to the silence before sound. You are returning to the space before thought. Everything we have spoken of, the stories, the metaphors, the lessons, you can let them go now. They have served their purpose. They were just a raft to get you here, to this moment of stillness. You do not need to remember them. They have been absorbed into your being. They are part of your bones now. You are simply here, breathing, existing. A vast, benevolent silence surrounds you. It is the silence of the galaxy. It is the silence of the deep ocean. It is the silence of your own true nature. If you ever feel the friction return, if you ever feel the weight of the boulder, know that this sanctuary is always here. We are always here. The loom is always waiting for you to return and find your rhythm again. Subscribe to the silence. Commit to the peace. Sleep now, brave traveler. The river has been crossed. The diamond is found. The sky is clear. Good night.